Supreme Court bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Justice Sundaresh that heard this particular plea have now stated that this plea is dismissed, and the reason they've said is it's completely without any it's misconceived, has no merit, and therefore it's dismissed. The PIL had sought a complete ban on the BBC from operating in India, and keeping in mind that the petition seems to have been flawed, the top court of the country says that this petition is misconceived and does not have merit. Please also at this time remember that earlier the BBC, the Supreme Court, in fact, on another petition against the BBC has already given a central government a notice, and that date has been put for April to hear the matter. Remember also earlier, after the controversial documentary had been put out, the centre had issued directions for blocking multiple YouTube videos and Twitter posts that shared links. The court had declined to drag into the issue of students who were being punished for airing the documentary, but they issued a notice the last time and said counter affidavit will be filed in that, and the case will be heard in April. So there are several pleas that had been filed before the Supreme Court on the BBC case, but this particular one, I do believe, in my personal opinion, was a bit far-fetched. So the Supreme Court bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Justice Sundaresh, who heard this plea, have dismissed it in a moment of seconds. This also shows the frivolity of filing this particular plea, and it could also be seen as several PILs that are filed today are for publicity. The PIL had sought imposition of a complete ban on the operation of BBC in India. The Supreme Court dismisses it by using three quick words. They say the petition is misconceived, it has no merit, and therefore they dismissed it. Okay, as we're going to try phone reactions on this story, let's also tell our viewers that earlier the Supreme Court had moved forward and had issued a notice in the case. But today, seeing this particular plea to be misconceived, the Supreme Court has said we are not going to be interfering in the matter. Now, even as this petition has been called misconceived by the bench, let's remember what this petition was really asking for is for a total ban on the operations of the British Broadcasting Corporation in India, keeping in mind the largeness of what is being asked from the legal courts of the country. The court said that we are not going to be interfering in this matter. It's misconceived and has no merit, and therefore they have dismissed it. Now, the PIL sought an imposition and the ban, and that's the reason that it's been dismissed. Viewers, as I said earlier, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing other pleas in the BBC documentary case that are there. The central government notice was issued to produce the record of its decision that had taken down certain tweets that were linked to the controversial BBC documentary. There's been an uproar that has been caused on this. There's also been a very clear link seen of the BBC with getting financials and getting other stuff from Chinese firms, which is something that had been stated by BJP MP and senior advocate Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani. Keeping all this in mind and the fact that this controversy had spiraled out of control, the case is going to be heard in April. But for today, the PIL that was filed before them, the Supreme Court bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Justice Sundaresh dismisses this plea. And let's tell you, there's also news that's coming in right now. Indian business tycoon Gautam Adani's company has hired activism defense law firm Wachtel, Lipton, Rosen and Katz as it weathers the storm following US-based short seller firm Hindenburg's revelations in its report where it alleged Adani Group of indulging in corporate fraud. Keeping that in mind, they have now hired a top law firm. Let me also go across to Niranjan, who's getting us all the latest details on this. Niranjan?
Well, Rhythm, remember the conversation when the lawyer for the Adani Group, someone who's worked with the Adani Group very closely, Ryan Karanjewala, spoke to Republic TV's editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami. He spoke to Arnab a few days back, I think it was last week if I'm not wrong, when he spoke to Arnab and he said that the group is mulling action and the steps to be taken going forward. And I think they've started taking those steps. They're preparing themselves for this long legal battle. Now, Hindenburg Research had when they had released the report, they had also dared Adani Group to sort of sue them in America, saying that it will be interesting because you will have to give out more details of your company. And they were sort of baiting the Adani Group for a fight. I think the Adani Group is taking the battle head on from the reports that are coming in. We are hearing from some news reports, including from the Financial Times, which is reporting that they've taken the first step. There are reports, and we also have the name of the law firm here, and it comes a day after the Prime Minister spoke in the Rajya Sabha on the issue, completely shut up the opposition on all of the charges that were made by sort of trying to tell them that it's a conspiracy, and they've sort of tried to target him on every small issue. But this report that I have in my hand from the Financial Times, from FT, that goes on to talk about the Financial Times reports that Adani has hired the legal powerhouse Wachtel. This is in the short seller battle, and the Financial Times also confirming that the Adani groups have tapped senior lawyers at the New York-based law firm, which is Wachtel, Lipton, Rosen and Katz, to advise it on how to stem the crisis facing the Indian conglomerate since Hindenburg accused it of accounting fraud and stock market manipulation in late January. This is what the Financial Times has reported. Of course, it's a significant move, Rhythm, one that you're also aware of, because their lawyers in India, the senior most lawyers, advocates in India, are advising them on how to take this forward. And it also comes on a day when some of the Adani stocks have fallen once again, including the Adani Enterprises, which is in the red as we speak. 3 of their stocks have hit the low circuit. 2 or 3 of the stocks are also sort of recovering from the sort of tumble that we witnessed on Thursday. And this is a legal move. We're getting in a report. In fact, this report was filed a few hours back, and they maintain that the Adani Group's decision to hire the group called Wachtel, known as one of the most expensive law firms in the US, shows the severe international pressure the group is facing since Hindenburg leveled its claims. So it is an anticipation that perhaps they will be taking Hindenburg to court, or at least sort of engaging them to see how they can pursue this matter legally in the US. Very early days with them, but I think they've taken the first step to identify the firm, engage the firm, and take this to the logical end, because Hindenburg's report has sort of created this turmoil for the Adani Group. Markets are stable in India, banks are resilient, banks are comfortable, but it appears that the Adani stocks have taken a beating, and the group has had to take measures after that. So the fallout hasn't been soft for them. It's been a tough fallout, with Adani falling in the world's most richest chart. His fortunes have been erased drastically in the stock markets, and it's tough days. Looks like they're going to take this to the logical end, or at least that's the indication. Rhythm.
And this is the news, Niranjan, that's coming in as we are speaking. And as you've said, a top law firm has been hired. One of the Wall Street's fiercest, I would say, defense law firms has now been hired by Gautam Adani, and they're going to reassure the investors about the conglomerate's health. We're also being told, as this report is coming out, Niranjan, that he's hired this law firm against the short seller Hindenburg Research, known to be one of the fiercest defense law firms. Wachtel has been hired. Now, there are reports that are also coming in, like you've been telling us, that they are trying to get further advisory support for the Adani Group, including crisis communication firm. So give us some details about what further can we expect? Because we are being told, Niranjan, that they've also Watchtel, in fact, has also approached the conglomerate at the office of Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas firm that is leading the defense of the Adani group. So Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, the Indian firm that's going to represent Gautam Adani, and Cyril Shroff also, who's, we all know his daughter is married to Gautam Adani's son. So he's got the fiercest legal team to be defending him, Niranjan.
Yeah, Rhythm, in fact, that's the point that I was going to come across to, because I wanted to draw your attention to this point that I hope I get the pronunciation correct. I'm not sure whether it's Watchtel or Waktel, but they've been approached by the Adani Group's lawyers at the India-based Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas firm. I think you work very closely with them. You've studied law yourself, so you're aware of the firms that are dealing with this matter, and they're leading the defense of Adani in India. And people aware of the matter, according to this Financial Times report, also saying that it was Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas which sort of approached the New York-based group. So maybe Rhythm, in the course of the day, you will be able to pull out more details, and we'll bank on you to pull out more details of the legal strategy. Rhythm.
BSF troop has foiled another Pakistani drone intrusion in Firozpur sector this time, and even the BSF troop has recovered 3 kg of heroin along with the made in China pistol and even magazine and ammunition as well. This drone sortie was spotted in the intervening night of 9th and 10th February when the drone sortie was suspected. BSF troops has fired the drone and in fact pushed him back to the Pakistani territory, but drone has dropped the consignment of the drugs as well as weapons that has been recovered by the BSF. Every second day, BSF troops are foiling the intrusion of the Pakistani drones and even recovering the drugs as well as weapons that were dropped by the drone. And in fact, now the BSF, along with the help of local police, is investigating the matter and trying to find out the on-ground network of the Pakistani drug smugglers in the Indian territory as well. And now the further investigation will reveal who all are involved into this cross-border drug smuggling with the Pakistan, and in fact providing them the ground support and picking up the consignment of the Pakistani drones.
Some news in brief now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Uttar Pradesh Global Investors Summit 2023 today. The 2-day event in Lucknow is the flagship Invest Summit of the government of Uttar Pradesh. The summit also aims to seek investment from both domestic and foreign investors. While addressing the Uttar Pradesh Global Investor Summit 2023, Prime Minister Modi lauds Uttar Pradesh and said it has more potential than the most developed nations. He further added, in Uttar Pradesh, it's driving the growth of New India and has shown improvement in every field. Prime Minister Narendra Modi flags off 2 new Vande Bharat trains from Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj terminus today. The new and upgraded version of Vande Bharat Express will be the 9th and the 10th Vande Bharat editions, which will run between Mumbai Solapur and Mumbai Sainagar Shirdi. Indian Space Research Organisation launched the small satellite launch vehicle SSLV D2 from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre at Sriharikota today. The successful launch has put ISRO's Earth observation satellite EO-707 and 2 co-passenger satellites into a 450-kilometre circular orbit around the Earth. In a major embarrassment for the Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot, he reread the old budget as the new budget today. Although the Chief Minister did a lot of branding before the budget, when the budget was being read, they all realized it's the old budget that he was reading out. While the BJP protest against Rajasthan Chief Minister for reading the old budget, Gehlot in his defense has said an old budget page was added to his new budget copy by mistake. Madras High Court directs Tamil Nadu police to permit RSS to take route marches in various districts across the state on public roads. Earlier, the court had allowed the rally with conditions. Court earlier said it would only be held indoors and in stadiums, but RSS said conditions weren't acceptable and had postponed the rally. And now a big win for RSS in Tamil Nadu as the court allows it. Ahead of the Karnataka Assembly polls, gift politics takes centre stage in Karnataka. Women refused to take sugar packets offered by supporters of the BJP leader. The incident was reported from Bilagi Assembly constituency in Bagalkot, where thousands of kgs of sugar were being distributed to voters as freebie in the constituency. Viewers, we're getting a very interesting UK government scheme report that has been set up to prevent terrorism. It has been flagging the radicalization of UK Muslims over Kashmir and potentially toxic pro-Khalistani extremism as some of the areas of growing concern, and recommendations have been made for improvements to tackle this as a primary threat to the country. So it's a big breaking news that this UK report on terror has come out. It says there's anti-India rhetoric that's been flagging off. It's flagged it off in the review. It warns against anti-India rhetoric over Kashmir. It warns over pro-Khalistani extremism in the United Kingdom. Let me also go across to our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor, joining us on the phone line. Abhishek, you and I, who've been looking at this for the longest time, have seen even the Indian government has been talking with its UK counterparts to give out details about how there are pro-Khalistani extremists that are on the rise in the United Kingdom. Now this anti-India rhetoric report flags off the same in this review.
You are absolutely right, Rhythm. In fact, this has come out in a United Kingdom government program. So there is a program called Prevent, which is aimed at de-radicalization and, in fact, proactively looking at the pockets of radicalization and to intervene there so that does not become a hotbed of extremism. And there it comes to light that all these extremist elements are in a way connected with the Khalistani elements, with Pak-based deep state, and are essentially anti-India in their sentiment. And there is a statement, in fact, coming in from the UK Home Secretary Suella Braverman, where she has said that all 34 recommendations are going to be accepted, and the government would work quickly to make sure that these radicalized hotbeds are dispersed. We have seen Rhythm. This has to be seen, in fact, in the light of episodes of violence, active violence by Khalistani elements over the last couple of months, centered around Birmingham, for example. And we saw how 2020 referendum on Khalistan happened in Southall. So it's taken deep roots, almost worryingly like Canada, and it's high time that the UK authorities took note of this independent report that has come in. All sorts of right noises as of now coming in. As I mentioned, Home Secretary Suella Braverman accepting all the recommendations and saying that suggesting that the government would act on those recommendations. But this is something we have been talking about for a while, Rhythm, as you rightly mentioned, that there are certain pockets in the United Kingdom which have become a hotbed for anti-India activity because of the Khalistani ISI links, which have really emerged now, becoming crystal clear with this report, and which says that 80% of the counter-terrorism police networks live investigations are Islamist, while 10% are extreme right-wing. So that gives you an idea of how deep-rooted extreme Islamist elements have become in the United Kingdom. Obviously, of course, backed by the Pakistani ISI, aimed at creating or fomenting trouble in India. But then, of course, it can have consequences for the UK and larger Europe also. And that's why I think there's concern being raised.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And as you're telling us, the Home Secretary has also spoken and promised that they will take action on this review, Abhishek. We also have to see India time and again has been speaking to its UK counterparts and been exposing and stating that there is Khalistani elements that are on the rise there. Now this report that we are talking with, one more question to you, Abhishek. This review is on the government's counter-terrorism strategy. How do you think they can make this something that is going to be seen as a permanent measure? Because even India has been trying to tell UK it is time to ensure that the Islamist extremism which is a primary threat to United Kingdom also, and the pro-Khalistanis propagating false narratives on its soil should be stopped.
Coming out, this is proactive. This is proactively looking at those areas where extremism and radicalism is or are spreading wings. And two, it gives suggestions as to how to deal with it. The second good aspect is that you have in the statement of Suella Braverman clearly suggesting that there is nothing anti-Islamic about tackling radical Islam and extremism. And in that sense, I think it becomes, ideally, it should now become a priority. We have seen consequences of, for example, absolutely peaceful Kerala sending hundreds of youths to Islamic State controlled areas because they just got radicalized. And we have some de-radicalization programs back home here as well. And hopefully the British authorities after this report would be really concerned at the manner in which this is spreading right under their nose and do something about it. There are recommendations.
That's
and,
right.
As the UK Home Secretary says, they are seriously looking at accepting and implementing those.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abhishek, for giving us those details. Like you said, Home Secretary Suella Braverman has come out and said that they will ensure that all these measures are taken.
आज भारत का हर नागरिक ज्यादा से ज्यादा विकास होते देखना चाहता है। वो अब भारत को जल्द से जल्द विकसित होते देखना चाहता है। भारत के समाज की एस्पिरेशंस आज सरकारों को भी पुश कर रही है और यही एस्पिरेशंस विकास के कार्यों में भी गति ला रही है। और साथियों, मत भूलिए कि आज आप जिस राज्य में बैठे हैं उसकी आबादी करीब 25 करोड़ है। दुनिया के बड़े बड़े देशों से भी ज्यादा सामर्थ्य अकेले उत्तर प्रदेश में है। पूरे भारत की तरह ही आज यूपी में एक बहुत बड़ी एस्पिरेशनल सोसाइटी आपका इंतजार कर रही है। साथियों, आज भारत में सोशल, फिजिकल और डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर जो काम हुआ उसका बड़ा लाभ यूपी को भी मिला है। इस कारण आज यहां समाज सोशली एंड फाइनेंशियली बहुत अधिक इंक्लूसिव हो चुका है, कनेक्टेड हो चुका है।
Amity University is establishing a most advanced supercomputing facility for research and innovation in the field of artificial intelligence. Scientists and researchers passionate to make a difference in the field of artificial intelligence are invited to contact at ai@amity.edu.
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic Originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन? और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाए थे।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्ड, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाए थे।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्ड, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. 4 Russian tourists, 1 hotel in Raigada, and 2 mysterious deaths. Bittu Roy Chaudhary and Priyanka Sharma uncovered the story of Russians in Raigada. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals, this weekend only on Republic.
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्ड, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Adani takes the battle to America, hires legal powerhouse against Hindenburg. UK review warns of anti-India rhetoric. Red flags pro-Khalistani and Pakistani elements.
Long-standing and hasn't changed.
And Prime Minister inaugurates Uttar Pradesh Global Investors Summit. Gehlot reads out last year's budget, BJP hits out. Prime Minister to launch Mumbai to Solapur Vande Bharat Express. Rohit Sharma scores a ton against Australia in Test match. Very good afternoon. You're watching Live and Breaking at 1:30. I'm Suesha Sound joining you live on the broadcast, and the top story we get for you this afternoon: in a major embarrassment for Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. Chief Minister who read out last year's budget. He did a lot of branding before the budget, and when it was being read out in the House, it was the old budget instead. A huge faux-pas that has been pointed out by the BJP that is now hitting out at Gehlot. Let's take a look at what Gehlot said and how the BJP has reacted.
अब मैं अल्प आयु वर्ग के साथ साथ समस्त 1,18,00,000 घरों एक मिनट, सॉरी,
ये भी इतिहास बनना ही लिखा था। ये भी इतिहास बनना ही लिखा था।
आरोप कुछ लगा अलग बात है। सिर्फ बजट की जो कॉपी बांटी जाएगी आप सबको, वो तो तय हो चुका है। उसके अंदर और इस कॉपी को फर्क हो तब तो आप कह सकते हो। कॉपी वही आपको मिली है जो ये बजट में पढ़ रहा हूँ। एक एक्स्ट्रा पेज लग गया गलती से मान लीजिए, और आप कह रहे हो कि किसको मालूम कैसे पढ़ा लीक हो गया। तो ये बजट कोई कल प्रेस में मैंने छपाया गया इसको। आप सब समझदार लोग हैं, मालूम है कि 7-7 दिन तक लोग घर नहीं जाते हैं, रात दिन एक काम करते हैं, और उसके बाद में सुबह ला के देते चीफ मिनिस्टर को 6 बजे कॉपी। ठीक है, तो कटासा सब मालूम है आपको। तो मुझे बताइए, अगर मैं एक पेज गलत पढ़ने लग गया, वही जो लोग जिन्होंने बजट बनवाया मुझसे और मैंने सुझाव दिए, अगर ऑफिसर गैलरी से मुझे करने करे कि भाई ये आप ये पेज कौन सा आ गया, तो वो भी नेचुरल हो गया, मैं ये क्या हो गया, एक पेज गलती से। वही बजट जो है जो पढ़ा जाएगा, वही बजट आप सबको निश्चित होगा। उसमें कहाँ लीक होने की बात आती है।
इशू लीक होने का, क्योंकि लीक नहीं हुआ है, ये तो इनके ऑफिसर्स के बीच में, पर इशू जो है वो ये है कि कोई मुख्यमंत्री बिना अपने बजट को पढ़े या देखे उस सुबह एक डॉक्यूमेंट को लेके आता है हाउस के अंदर, इतनी केयरलेसनेस के साथ। अगर वो अपने बजट को इतनी केयरलेसनेस के साथ पेश करने के लिए आया है, तो आप ये समझ सकते हो कि अपने प्रदेश को किस तरीके से चला रहा है, और अगर इसी ढंग से चला रहा है तो उस प्रदेश का भट्टा तो बैठना ही है।
आज जो इतिहास में पहले कभी नहीं हुआ वो हुआ। राजस्थान के मुख्यमंत्री पुराने बजट की स्पीच को पढ़ने लगे, 3 पैराग्राफ तक पढ़ने लगे, और लगभग कुछ मिनटों तक उन्होंने पुराना बजट पढ़ा। एक तरफ आप देख सकते हो उत्तर प्रदेश में ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर्स समिट हो रहा है। $1 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी बनाने के लिए प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और योगी आदित्यनाथ जी पूरी तरीके से अपने प्रयास कर रहे हैं, और दूसरी तरफ अशोक गहलोत जी हैं जो क्लूलेस, होपलेस और डायरेक्शनलेस मुख्यमंत्री की तरह पेश आते हैं और पुराना बजट पढ़ लेते हैं। ये बजट कितना सीक्रेट रहा होगा, इस पर भी सवाल चिन्ह है। पहले कानून व्यवस्था भगवान भरोसे थी, फिर पेपर और एजुकेशन की व्यवस्था भगवान भरोसे, जिस प्रकार से पेपर लीक होते जा रहे थे, फिर महिलाएं भगवान भरोसे, जिस प्रकार से उत्पीड़न हो रहा है महिलाओं पर, अत्याचार हो रहा है महिलाओं पर, और अब फाइनेंसेस, वित्तीय मामले भी, आर्थिक मामले भी राजस्थान के भगवान भरोसे हो चुके हैं। सारे वादे तोड़ने के बाद अब कांग्रेस पार्टी पुराना बजट ही फिर से पढ़कर सुना रही है जनता को। 5 वर्षों में राजस्थान को जिस प्रकार से पीछे ले जाने का काम किया है, जनता इसे देख ही रही है। परंतु राहुल गांधी और कांग्रेस पार्टी जो केंद्रीय बजट पर और उत्तर प्रदेश पे हर रोज कुछ ना कुछ कहते हैं, वो राजस्थान के विषय में और इस प्रकार के रवैये के विषय में कुछ क्यों नहीं कहते।
देखिए, माननीय अशोक गहलोत जी जादूगर के नाम से जाने जाते हैं। वो अपना जादू चला रहे हैं, लेकिन जादू चलने वाला नहीं है। वो पुराना बजट पढ़ रहे हैं। ये जनता को धोखा देने वाला बजट है, चुनावी बजट है। और इसमें कुछ, क्योंकि आपको मालूम है कि इस साल नवंबर दिसंबर में चुनाव होने वाले हैं, और अभी ये जो अब फरवरी का माह चल रहा है तो मुश्किल से 3 महीने काम करने के लिए सरकार के पास रहेंगे। उसके बाद आचार संहिता लग जाएगी, 3-4 महीने काम। अब 3-4 महीने में क्या काम करके सरकार दिखाएगी, क्योंकि पिछले 4 साल में अशोक गहलोत साहब ने अपने सरकार को बचाने में ही समय व्यतीत कर दिया, आपस में लड़ने में ही समय व्यतीत कर लिया और जनता की तरफ ध्यान ही नहीं दिया। और ये चुनावी बजट है, इसमें कुछ खास नहीं है और जनता इनके बहका में आने वाली नहीं।
देखिए, राजस्थान सरकार गंभीर है ही नहीं। अशोक गहलोत साहब को अपनी कुर्सी बचानी है। देखिए, पहले 8 तारीख को बजट पेश होना था, ऐसी सूचना हमने तो मीडिया में ही पढ़ी थी। बाद में उन्होंने कहा मुझे तैयारी के लिए समय चाहिए, तो 10 का रखा। तो तैयारी कहाँ की उन्होंने? पुराना बजट पढ़ रहे हो। और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि किसी भी तरह की गंभीरता नहीं है अब शासन संचालन करने में। बस उनको डर लग रहा है मेरी कुर्सी कहीं चली नहीं जाए, तो बस उस कुर्सी को बचाने के लिए जनता पिस रही है और पुराना बजट को पेश कर रहे हैं विधानसभा में।
अच्छा, अपोजिशन इसके ज्यादा तूल नहीं देना चाहिए। कई बार क्या होता है, दोनों स्पीच की कॉपी रखी होगी, आदमी वो उठा लेता है ना, तो इसमें कोई ऐसा नहीं। कई बार ऐसा हुआ है, कई नेताओं के साथ, कई लोगों के साथ, अफसरों के साथ भी होता रहता है कि गलत कोई कागज उठ जाता है दूसरा वाला, तो अगर सब कागज रखे हो तो ऐसा होता है। संयुक्त राष्ट्र में कई लोग दूसरे भाषण पढ़ देते हैं, उस सभा में बिखरे रहते हैं भाषण। अब पीएम ने जैसे परसों वहां बोला लोकसभा में कि 8 करोड़ लोगों को नल का पानी दे रहे हैं, कल राज्यसभा में बोल दिया 11 करोड़, तो कोई मुद्दा थोड़ा बनाएंगे, हो जाता है।
And footage from Turkey's Humanitarian Relief Foundation showed rescue workers looking into a narrow opening in the debris of a building in Antakya and pulling out a 20-year-old girl who was stuck under the rubble. Here's a report.
The deadly earthquakes in Turkey and Syria killed over 20,000 civilians. While Turkey lost most of its resources, rescue workers are leaving no stones unturned to save one and all. And in one of the rescue attempts, a 10-year-old girl was rescued in Antakya district of Hatay province in the 90th hour since the earthquake. According to sources, the rescue workers worked 32 hours at the site to clear the passage. Watch how the little girl gets pulled out who was stuck under the rubble. According to medics, they had to amputate an arm to free her from the rubble because removing the block that was crushing her would have endangered her life further. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands were left homeless by the earthquake centered in southern Turkey, having to endure cold weather and lack of resources, with hopes fading of many people being found alive in the ruins. The clock is ticking and the rescue workers are giving it all to save each and every life. The world is praying for Turkey. Republic is praying for Turkey. Agency report, Republic TV.
And cutting across to breaking news coming in, demolition drive that has been started by DDA in Mehrauli. According to sources, process of demolishing some homes in Mehrauli that has already started by the DDA. The administration says that all these houses were built illegally. Some voices coming in, let's listen in.
जो कि इस मकान में रहते हैं और
हमें मोहलत तो दीजिए आप 4 घंटे 5 घंटे 1-2 दिन की मोहलत तो दीजिए। हम ऐसे सामान कैसे लेके जाएं? कोई वो बिस्तर थोड़ी ना कि बस लपेटे। आपके पास तो वहाँ से भूल भुलैया से लेके वहाँ तक का ऑर्डर है, आप सबसे पहले इधर ही क्यों आए हो? हमें ही कमजोर समझा है आप लोगों ने।
देखिए, पुलिस जो है ये लगातार कह रही है कि आप मकान को खाली कीजिए क्योंकि अब तोड़ने की प्रक्रिया जो है वो शुरू हो चुकी है। ये तमाम वो मकान हैं जो डीडीए का कहना है कि ये तमाम इलीगल डीडीए की जमीन है, उस पर ये मकान खड़े किए गए हैं और नोटिस देने के बाद अब डीडीए की टीम और दिल्ली पुलिस की टीम जो है यहाँ पर पहुंच चुकी है। देखिए किस तरीके से यहाँ पर, बताइए
जब ये बन रही थी बिल्डिंग, जब कहाँ मर गई थी गवर्नमेंट, जब डीडीए वाले सब कोई नहीं था क्या यहाँ पर?
यहाँ डीडीए के भी कुछ अधिकारी हैं, इनसे बात करने की कोशिश करते हैं। भाई साहब, आप डीडीए से हैं, ये बताइए।
मैं ऑथराइज नहीं हूँ बाइट देने के लिए। आप
डीडीए से तो आप हैं, नोटिस के बारे में बता दीजिए कि
नोटिस काफी टाइम पहले इनको दिया गया था।
कितनी बार अभी तक नोटिस?
वो डिवीजन 4 है, वो उनके अधिकारी बताएंगे।
तो देखिए यहाँ पर डीडीए के अधिकारी बात करने से मना कर रहे हैं, लेकिन मैं आपको बता दूं कि इनका कहना है कि इसके पहले कई बार नोटिस दिया जा चुका है और अब जो है वो कार्रवाई शुरू हो चुकी है। मकानों को तोड़ने की प्रक्रिया जो है अब यहाँ पर शुरू हो चुकी है। देखिए किस तरीके से पुलिस डिप्लॉयमेंट भी यहाँ पर बढ़ा दी गई है काफी हद तक जो है, और पुलिस डिप्लॉयमेंट जो है वो सीआरपीएफ के जवान जो हैं वो भी यहाँ पर पहुंच चुके हैं और लोग जो हैं यहाँ पर लगातार जो है रो रहे हैं। लोगों का विरोध प्रदर्शन लगातार हो रहा है। ये सुबह से आप खड़ी हैं,
कल रात से पूरे पब्लिक खड़े हुए हैं। सबका रातों का नींद खाना 1 महीने से ये डीडीए वालों ने और एलजी वालों ने जीना हराम करके रखा है।
परिवार में कौन कौन रहता है?
मैं हूँ, मेरा बेटा है, आदमी मेरे अंकल है, सब है इसी में यहाँ ग्रीन अपार्टमेंट पे।
यहाँ से खाली करके कहाँ जाइएगा?
रोड पे आ जाएंगे, यही आ जाएंगे, बुलडोजर चला देंगे, हमारे ऊपर ही चला देंगे। सब परिवार यही रहेंगे, कोई नहीं जाएंगे। कहाँ जाएंगे आप बताइए?
आप लोग कहाँ जाइएगा खाली करके?
यही लेटेंगे और कहाँ लेटेंगे, जमीन यही है तो कहाँ जाएंगे?
सरकार को सोचनी चाहिए ना,
शर्म आनी चाहिए सरकार को।
आप तो गलत पूछ रहे ना, हम कहाँ जाएंगे? हमारा घर भर सब कुछ हम यहीं पड़े रहेंगे, हमारे ऊपर चलाओ, घर तोड़ो, हम यहीं रहेंगे।
मेरा कहना ये है कि जो ये पुलिस महकमा आया है ये मतलब अभी करने है, ठीक है, बट इतना इमोशनलेस है, लोग खड़े होके हंस रहे हैं, पुलिस वाले हंस रहे हैं, ठीक है ना सर, खड़े होके। इनको इतना दर्द नहीं हो रहा कि यहाँ लोग क्या फील कर रहे हैं।
बैठे हुए हैं, मुझे 10 डंडे मारे हैं, मैं कॉलर पकड़ के खींचा, मेरी ऊपर वाली शर्ट फट गई है, मेरा चेन का पता नहीं कहाँ गिरा हुआ, वहीं पे कहीं होगा। अभी चेन पकड़ के
पब्लिक को पीट रहे हैं और अपना आप हंस रहे हैं, ऐसे क्यों साहब का ये बात गलत है ना।
ये लोगों का एक गुस्सा जो है वो पुलिस प्रशासन पर भी साफ तौर पर निकल रहा है। लोगों का कहना है कि हम यहाँ सालों से रह रहे थे और इसके अलावा हमारे पास कोई जगह नहीं है जो है, यहाँ से हम खाली करके कहाँ जाएंगे, हम यहीं पे रहेंगे, हमारे ऊपर बुलडोजर चढ़ा दिया जाए। ऐसा यहाँ के
बच्चों के ऊपर, लेडीज के ऊपर लाठी चार्ज कर रही है, फैमिली को, बच्चों को, किसी को नहीं देखा जा रहा है, सबके ऊपर लाठी चार्ज किया है, रेजिडेंस है सबकी।
वीडियो पड़ी मेरे पास लाठी चार्ज की इनकी।
देखिए पुलिस प्रशासन पर भी एक जो गुस्सा है, जो रोष है, वो यहाँ लोगों का साफ नजर आ रहा है, लेकिन पुलिस ये सुनिश्चित कर रही है कि यहाँ किसी भी तरीके का कोई हंगामा ना हो, क्योंकि देखिए ये जो घर है, जो मकान है, ये यहाँ लोग जो हैं वो सालों से रह रहे थे और अब इसको तोड़ने की प्रक्रिया जो है वो शुरू की जा चुकी है। कई मकान है, देखिए अगर देखा जाए तो कई इमारतें हैं, 4 मंजिला इमारतें, 5 मंजिला इमारतें, और ये तमाम इमारतें जो हैं ये डीडीए की जमीन पर बनी हुई है, ऐसा डीडीए का कहना है। और अब नोटिस देने के बाद तोड़ने की प्रक्रिया जो है वो भी शुरू हो चुकी है। तमाम यहाँ पर दिल्ली पुलिस के अधिकारी भी मौजूद हैं, साथ ही साथ डीडीए की टीम है, डीडीए के अधिकारी हैं और सीआरपीएफ के जवान भी यहाँ पर ये सुनिश्चित कर रहे हैं कि किसी तरीके का कोई हंगामा जो है यहाँ पर ना हो। लेकिन जो स्थानीय लोग रहते हैं उनका भारी विरोध प्रदर्शन जो है सुबह से ही देखने को मिल रहा है। लोगों का कहना है कि पहले भी हमें नोटिस आया था, लेकिन जब हमने ये बिल्डिंग खरीदी थी तो हमने लीगल रूप से खरीदी थी, जब हमने ये डॉक्यूमेंट्स पर हमारे एसडीएम का सिग्नेचर भी है, दस्तखत भी है, तो इलीगल कैसे हो सकता है। ये तमाम सवाल जो हैं ये कहीं ना कहीं निकल कर सामने आ रहे हैं और देखिए तस्वीरें में।
So there you see what is happening in Mehrauli, where the people are saying that they are unwilling to move at a point when the DDA is saying that all this construction is illegal and they are well within their rights to demolish all these homes. The people say that they will not move and they need some more time. Also, it is the CRPF and police personnel who have been deployed so that the demolition drive can continue. We'll keep a close eye on all that is coming in from Mehrauli. For the moment, a quick check of what's making news across the globe. The death toll from the earthquakes that jolted Turkey and Syria has risen to over 20,000. According to sources, the total number of injured people in Syria and Turkey have now reached 75,592. The death toll in Turkey has risen over 17,000. Thousands took to the streets in Peru's capital. They protested against the resignation of Peru's President Dina Boluarte. During the protests, some clashes were reported in which the Peruvian police fired tear gas to disperse the demonstrators after trying to reach the Congress. President Dina took office in December after her predecessor Pedro Castillo was ousted for seeking to dissolve the legislature. United States announced providing 85 million USD humanitarian assistance to those impacted by the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. The new aid announced by the US to deliver aid to people in Turkey and Syria after two earthquakes jolted the two nations on Monday. Stepping into a short commercial break. On the other side, we'll get you details as Prime Minister is to launch Mumbai to Solapur Vande Bharat Express. And Rohit Sharma scores a ton against Australia in Test match.
(1984) में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
So congratulations, the space community of India. So we have a new launch vehicle, small satellite launch vehicle SSLV. In its second attempt today, SSLV D2 has placed the EOS 07 satellite in its intended orbit very accurately. Along with the EOS 07, 2 more satellites were also placed in the required orbit, Janus 1 through NSIL and from the Antares, and Asadisat through InSpace realized by the space kits. So congratulations to all 3 satellite teams for making the satellites as well as placing in the right orbit, and I wish all the very best to the rest of the operations of the satellite for accomplishing their mission goals. Probably all of you are aware that SSLV had its maiden flight, SSLV D1, and we had a narrow miss of placing the satellite in the orbit because of a shortfall in velocity. And I'm very happy to report that we have analyzed the problems faced in the SSLV D1, identify the corrective actions, implemented in a very fast pace, qualified all of those new systems, went through large amount of simulations and studies to ensure that the vehicle will become success this time. I am very happy to see that the really intended model of the vehicle has been executed in reality in flight. So we have also a good news that the orbit achieved by the vehicle today, using its very novel, cost-effective and very innovative guidance and navigation system, is exceedingly good. We were targeting to put it in a 450-kilometer orbit. We have very close apogee and perigee, as well as inclination is very small error only. And this also shows that the new model of the vehicle navigation system and electronics that we incorporate in SSLV is doing very well.
Time now for a short break. On the other side, Adani takes the battle to America, hires legal powerhouse against Hindenburg. Also, UK review warns of anti-India rhetoric, red flags pro-Khalistani and Pakistani elements.
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious death. 4 Russian tourists. 1 hotel in Raigada. And 2 mysterious deaths. Bittu Roy Chaudhary and Priyanka Sharma uncovered the story of Russians in Raigada. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals, this weekend only on Republic.
Adani takes battle to America, hires legal powerhouse against Hindenburg. UK review warns of anti-India rhetoric, red flags pro-Khalistani and Pakistani elements. PM inaugurates UP Global Investors Summit. Gehlot reads out last year's budget, BJP hits out at the Rajasthan Chief Minister. Big boost to development, Prime Minister to launch Mumbai to Solapur Vande Bharat Express. And Rohit Sharma scores a ton against Australia in Test match. Very good afternoon. You're watching live and breaking at 2 p.m. I'm Suesha Saman joining you on the broadcast from the Delhi newsroom, where we get you details of the Khalistani groups who are at it again. Yes, they are staging protests at the Chandigarh-Mohali border as they demand the release of convicts. So much so that violence has been reported as a part of these protests, where they were using weapons. Some of these protesters wielding weapons attacked policemen. And these are pro-Khalistani groups who are demanding the release of convicts. We are trying to get in touch with Amandeep, who will get us more details of what exactly has happened. But these were protests that were underway at the Chandigarh-Mohali border on Wednesday. And these are pro-Khalistani groups who are leading these protests as they demand the release of convicts. So much so that violence was reported, and many of these protesters who used weapons, they attacked policemen. Amandeep is joining us on the broadcast. Over to you, Amandeep.
Well, absolutely, Swechha. The point is that again the protest is staged here at the border of Chandigarh and Mohali. If I can show you the visuals, just because from day before yesterday's violence, the entire security has been deployed at the border and the road has been completely sealed. Nobody is allowed to jump these barricades. On one side there is a Chandigarh police and in that side is Punjab police, and heavy security has been deployed, and in fact the protesters have been asked to sit at this point only. If they want to protest peacefully, they can sit here and protest and raise their demand, but nobody is allowed to do any kind of violence and nobody is allowed to move from this point to anywhere else. And that is the reason all around, if my camera person can show you the 360-degree angle of this place, that the entire security, this place is entirely covered with the security from each and every corner, and a heavy security deployment along with the barricades, along with the water cannons, dumpers, and even certain other anti-riot vehicles has been put in place to deal with any kind of uncertainty, just because what had happened day before yesterday is completely shocking and surprising. The way cops were being assaulted with the swords and the rods, and the weaponized protesters has come forward and beaten up the cops, and several cops remain injured, and the FIRs has been registered. And the most interesting part, and even the laxity from the side of the police, is that despite imposing section 307 attempt to murder, that is a non-bailable section, no arrest has been made so far, and even the protest is still continued, and police is providing them all kind of security, in fact try to maintain the law and order situation as well. And in fact these protesters are continuously demanding to release the Sikh prisoners who have completed their sentence and still behind the bars. But their mode of protest turned violent day before yesterday, and that is the reason the heavy security has been deployed at this point at the border of Punjab and Chandigarh, and the border has been completely sealed. It is not allowed for the normal vehicles to go through this road, and in fact simultaneously a protest is happening on the other side of the road also, where the main protest site, where they have put out their shelters as well, where they have the protest is happening over the night also, just because Swesha from past almost 1.5 months this protest is happening at Chandigarh Mohali border and the jurisdiction of Punjab. And even day before yesterday, when they wanted to go to Gherao, Punjab Chief Minister's house, this entire violence take place. So this is how the situation is panning out, though the uncertainty is still prevailing, Swesha, and the protest is still happening. If I can show you the visuals as well, they have allotted a proper site if they wanted to protest. This is a site where they can protest for the couple of hours and then they go back. Yesterday the same thing happened. They came here to protest, and in fact after the protest they vacated this place and went back to their main protesting site, where they have put out their tents and in fact arranged their shelters as well. And during the day they sit here, and by the evening they lift their protest from here and go back. But this uncertainty is still prevailing. Any time unprovoked violence can happen, can report at this section, and that is the reason a heavy police has been deployed. And even beyond this barricade, the Chandigarh police has heavily deployed along with the CRPF as well, and you can see the vehicles beyond the barricades as well. Water cannons, anti-riot vehicles, dumpers, everything has been put in place to deal with any kind of uncertainty. And even despite registering the FIR, no arrest has been made so far, Swesha, and even the situation is very much uncertain. Anything, anytime, anything can happen at this place. Yes.
Oh yes, absolutely. Amandeep, they're getting us all the details and those live pictures from the Mohali-Chandigarh border. Amandeep, for the moment, I want to thank you for joining us, but we keep a very close watch on how the situation develops, because like you're telling us that the police is fully ready to tackle any unruly scenes that may unfold given what had happened on Wednesday. Water cannons and sticks and lathis that the police is armed with, and also the very fact that, let's understand that some of these protesters have been in possession of weapons which they have used to attack policemen. There really needs to be a larger viable solution to deal with this problem, and how the Punjab government is looking at this matter. But for the moment, heavy police deployment at the border to ensure that violence does not break out anymore. On that note, Amandeep, many thanks. We move on.
At least 4 people were killed in an explosion that hit a former factory at an industrial zone in Ukrainian capital on Thursday. The Kyiv Emergency Service said at least 5 other people were injured. About 10 people were believed to have been inside the building when the explosion happened. The 30-year-old husband of Alina Malyutina was working in a workshop at the site when the blast went off. She says she was unable to reach him by telephone and came to the industrial zone to find out what had happened.
Під завалами знаходяться люди з загоранням залишків будівельних конструкцій. На даний момент пожежу локалізовано, дим відсутній. Стався вибух всередині цієї одноповерхової будівлі.
Authorities were investigating the cause of the blast, with some unconfirmed reports suggesting a gas canister blew up. Agency report, Republic TV.
And getting you details now of a UK government scheme that is set up to prevent terrorism. Now, a review of the same has put out details of how there is a constant attempt to radicalize UK Muslims, where Kashmir is brought up again and again. Not just this, there are toxic Khalistani elements who are also indulging in the same. Some of these areas that are of growing concern, and recommendations that have been made for improvements to tackle Islamist extremism as the primary threat to the country. This review that has put out details of Islamist and Khalistani extremists who are time and again spreading hate and fear and also radicalizing UK Muslims. It is an anti-India plot that UK has warned of, and a constant attempt to push a rhetoric which is coming from the side of Pakistan to create tension in India. So this is what the UK report has flagged out. Abhishek Kapoor, Senior Executive Editor, will join us shortly to give us further details of what this UK report states. But remember, this is a scheme that has been set up by the UK government to prevent terrorism. And they have now red flagged how there is a very conscious attempt by all these groups that includes Khalistani extremists and Islamists to radicalize UK Muslims, where Kashmir is brought up again and again. This is Islamist extremism that is the reason of primary terror threat to UK, and this is a sensational UK report that is red flagged how there is a narrative that is being pushed, a rhetoric to plan an anti-India design. UK is warning of that anti-India plot. Major Gaurav Arya will also join us shortly. As remember, this is something that the Indian government has been aware of, and several intel inputs that have always pointed out towards the same. This is the UK report on terror that is signaling to all these details and saying that there is a rhetoric to create an anti-India plot which is using UK Muslims and potentially toxic Khalistani extremists. This is an area of growing concern, and several recommendations have been made to deal with these extremists. Niranjan is joining me on the phone line. Niranjan, well, India does understand that this is a potential threat, and now the very fact that this UK terror report is also pointing out towards the same. I really want to understand the geopolitical angle from you of how UK can work in tandem with India, and how is the Indian government now viewing this report?
Well, too early to see how the Indian government views it, but this is historically been a stand that pro-Pakistani, pro-Khalistan elements have sort of run amok in the UK. We've seen, in the latter part of last year when a few temples were attacked, Hindu communities were attacked, and very, very ugly scenes. And they abused Hindus, sort of targeted temples. And this is a review. This was a review into the UK government scheme set up to prevent terror, and it's flagged this report, which is primarily made to review, the scheme to prevent terror. Talks of how radicalization of UK Muslims over Kashmir and potentially toxic pro-Khalistani extremism are some of the areas of growing concern, and has made recommendations for improvements to tackle Islamist extremism as a primary threat to the country. And this is in fact a report that's come out, and a few years back, you will remember that Shaman Sen, our senior editor, had also travelled to UK, and he had done a sting operation on the Khalistani elements there who were operating from there, openly talking about the murders they committed, etc. Yes.
And Niranjan, I quickly want to tell you that Major Gaurav Arya is also joining us on the phone line. Let's get further details from him. Major Gaurav Arya, this is something that you have also put out details on, and India is well aware of this anti-India plot, this rhetoric that is being pushed. Now UK also flagging the same. Where is the larger problem?
See, the larger problem is that, they have allowed, the UK and other people, they have allowed these radical, people to come in. They have allowed them to settle there, and then they start. They have made ghettos inside. I wrote an article long back. It appeared in some newspaper. I don't remember, in 2017, and the article was called "The Caliph of London," and how radical Islamism and Khalistanis are actually, ripping about the fabric of Europe. It is not just London. Today, the UK has, understood that what is happening, but it is only a matter of time before Europe also rises up in arms. And it's like this very infamous preacher called Anjum Chaudhry, who's I believe of Pakistani descent, and this person has a huge fan following among the radical Islamists in UK, and he actually said that I want to turn Buckingham Palace into a mosque. And there are actually ties with Al Qaeda. There are ties with the Islamic State. And it's only a matter of time, I'm saying it's only a matter of time before, heaven forbid, UK gets a shock.
Right. Major Gaurav Arya, please stay on with us. Professor Madhav Nalapat, geopolitical expert, is also joining us on the broadcast. Professor Madhav Nalapat, isn't it high time that UK and Canada both understand that they are giving support to these pro-Khalistani elements, these Islamist extremists, and they need to work in tandem with India to solve the issue of terrorism on the larger level?
You're quite right, and the problem is that political parties in the UK have been extremely unwise in playing to the small extremist group, and because the point is extremists have voting en bloc. They vote en bloc for a particular candidate who is favorable to them, and in a constituency where a small amount of votes can make a difference, their extremist vote tilts the balance. The problem is that candidate in effect becomes a spokesperson for the extremists. In other words, becomes somebody who is hostile to the UK, to the values of the UK, to the interests of the UK, and to the 90% of his voters who are not extremists. So this is the compromise that many MPs are making in the UK, policymakers are making in Canada, and I think every one of them needs to be identified and called out. For the simple reason that if you talk to them about the risk to India, frankly, 3/4 of them will not be concerned. The point is the risk to their own country, the risk to Canada, the risk to the UK, the risk to the United States, the risk to France, to Germany from these extremist groups. And I think it's important to expose these groups, and that is now slowly happening, very slowly, because till now the attitude of all these countries was, the attitude, let's be honest, of many people in North America and across the Atlantic is, if it's not happening, on both sides of the Atlantic, it's not happening at all, it's not important. So something that happened it's not really important. Why do we bother about it? It's not a priority. The fact is, it is shown to be their priority as well, because their social structures, you said, are being challenged by extremists inside. Their political debates are being hijacked by extremists inside. And the tragedy is that large sections of the media have now, apart from the political parties, large sections of the media have become basically subservient to this extremist fringe. And they propagate certain completely false notions, such as India being a land of hate and Pakistan being a land of tolerance and mutual respect for all religions. So this is the kind of absurdity, this alternative reality that these extremists propagate. And I'm sorry to say, a large number of newspapers are basically towing that line, mainly because the organized effort of these extremist groups to win over journalists and editors in these publications. Look, flattery will get you into a lot of places. And flattery, and if I may say so, gets you a credibility that you don't deserve. So we are seeing an enormous amount of coverage of groups in the United States, groups in India that are opposed to extremism. The extremists are portraying these groups as hate groups, whereas the real hate groups are the people who implicitly such media are supporting.
Oh yes, absolutely, Professor Madhav Nalapat. Oh yes, absolutely, Professor Madhav Nalapat. And the very fact that the UK government now realizes this becomes all the more important, that they work with India on this issue. And those who are being provided a safe haven in the UK, strict action must be taken, and they must be taken to task in coordination with the Indian government. I want to thank you for speaking to Republic this afternoon. Mr. Gauravarya, I want to come back to you because it is high time that India has been reeling with this issue and raising this with the UK government and Canada as well. And if the UK realizes it well enough, then why not take strict action? Why not work in tandem with the Indian government? Alright, we are shifting our focus now to Bengaluru, where the civic infrastructure continues to crumble. A road that caved near Shivananda Circle in the city, which resulted in a huge crater in the middle of the road. Motorists and commuters continue to bear the brunt of civic apathy, and locals have been covering the potholes with barricades so that they can prevent accidents for themselves. But where is the civic body and the government responsible for this continuing problem in the city of Bengaluru? A huge crater that you see was in the middle of the road. This was at the very crowded Shivananda Circle, and motorists had to fend for themselves, where they got down and tried filling this hole so that people don't meet with an accident. There have been several cases of pothole deaths in the city of Bengaluru, where the BBMP has been taken to task and questioned, asked to be accountable over and over again. But clearly nothing that improves. In Bengaluru, where you see another road that caved in, there was a huge crater found in the middle of the road. And if it couldn't get worse, people had to fend for themselves, come and cover up this huge crater so that they don't meet with an accident. Prajwal is joining us live on the broadcast. Prajwal, it is absolutely shameful that the BBMP pays no heed. This despite the fact that they have been pulled up again and again, exposed again and again on how civic apathy has crumbled, but no attention paid to it.
Suesha, this time around it is the BWSSB which should be held responsible for this, because now we have already gotten a confirmation from the BBMP stating that this was in fact a newly laid road by the civic authority, because there were several complaints which were given in by the general public about the condition of the road, because recently repair works were also taken. Now we get to understand that the BWSSB had gone on to dig this road to lay an underground pipeline. So therefore, as they had gone on to dig this road to lay an underground pipeline, they have just left it doing some patchwork over there, and therefore once this particular patchwork was also exposed, what happened was the vehicles were moving constantly, and therefore there was a lot of pressure created on the road, which was dug up as well, and therefore what started off as a small hole has now been formed into a full crater around 1 to 1.5 feet is what we get to learn. And now the BWSSB is again involved in a blame game, stating that the BBMP should go on and fill it up. But the rules clearly mandated by the government of Karnataka to all the civic bodies is whoever goes on and takes up the repair work, they will be the ones who will have to be held accountable, and they will be the ones who will carry out the repair works. But the BWSSB goes on and says otherwise, and therefore now the double standards of the BWSSB has also been exposed, because this is not one such incident. Every time that there is some event that happens, the BBMP untoward incident that happens over here, the BBMP takes the major blame. But also, what are the other authorities doing over here? Why is the Bangalore Water Sewage Supply Board not acting on it and immediately filling it up? Because there was a complaint which was lodged 6 days ago by the residents and the motorists who used to pass by there, but there was no sort of action taken. And now a small hole has resulted into a big 1 to 1.5 crater, and the BWSSB officials are yet to arrive there and take take a ground report or the scenario of the entire situation. And the motorists are left cursing by, and even the traffic jam is quite huge, where traffic has piled up for over 500 meters to 1 kilometer. And what is even more shocking is that this is only 1.5 kilometer from the power center of Karnataka, that is the Vidhana Saudha here. And every day we see VIPs and VVIP movement, and the ministers also move in here, but no sort of action has been taken so far by the BWSSB, Suesha.
Prajwal, for the moment we move on. I thank you for getting us these details, and of course we'll try and get more voices from the civic authority also to have them accountable on why this continuing issue and what the BBMP and the PWD are doing about it. For the moment, thank you. We move on.
Freebie politics has now again taken center stage in Karnataka, and this time it is from the Bagalkot district in Bilagi Assembly constituency, which is represented by Minister Murugesh Nirani, where his supporters were giving packets of sugar weighing 5 kgs to the voters there. And in one such instance, they had gone to a voter, and despite her refusal, they went in and kept the packet of sugar. But in the video, it is clearly seen that this time around, the voters do not want any sort of freebie politics, and the woman comes out and then throws the packet of sugar back at Mr. Murugesh Nirani's supporters here. And this comes on the backdrop of many ministers, MLAs as well as aspirants from the BJP, the Congress and the JDS going on to give gifts to woo and entice voters as well.
Time for a short break. On the other side, getting you details as Gehlot read out last year's budget big foppa, where the BJP has hit out at the Rajasthan Chief Minister. Also, it's a big boost to development. Prime Minister is all set to launch Mumbai to Solapur Vande Bharat Express. We'll get you details on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा
4 Russian tourists, 1 hotel in Raigada, and 2 mysterious deaths. Bittu Roy Chaudhary and Priyanka Sharma uncovered the story of Russians in Raigada. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend only on Republic.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
Very good afternoon and thank you for staying tuned. You're watching Live and Breaking at 2:30. I'm Suesh Assam. To get to the top stories we are tracking in this edition, a quick check of the headlines at the sun. Adani takes battle to America, hires legal powerhouse against Hindenburg. UK review warns of anti-India rhetoric, red flags, pro-Khalistani and Pakistani elements. PM inaugurates UP Global Investors Summit. Gehlot reads out last year's budget, BJP hits up. Prime Minister to launch Mumbai to Solapur Vande Bharat Express. Rohit Sharma scores a ton against Australia in Test match. And getting your breaking details coming in, it's a fresh face-off between the BJP and BRS in Telangana, where Telangana BJP State President Bandi Sanjay has made a controversial remark that if the BJP is voted to power in Telangana, it would demolish the domes of newly built state secretariat that reflect the culture of the Nizams. This comes ahead of the inauguration of Telangana Secretariat building on the 17th of February by CM KCR. My colleague Aneri is joining us live on the broadcast. Aneri, this is a big statement that has been made by the BJP, and especially the fact that while it may resonate with a section of people, how is the BRS now reacting to it?
Well, Suesha, definitely a big face-off going on between the BJP and the BRS here in the state of Telangana. Well, now this statement of the Telangana BJP state president Bandi Sanjay comes at the time when the Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao plans to hold a grand inauguration of the Telangana Secretariat building on the eve of his birthday, that is on the 17th of February. But then now we see that the BJP state president Bandi Sanjay has made a comment stating that if BJP is voted to power, then they will demolish the domes on the Secretariat building, the newly inaugurated Secretariat building, which reflects the Nizam rule, and they will demolish that and come up with a new Indian culture. The Telangana culture will be replicated once BJP is voted to power. They will demolish that. Well, now, not to forget, Suesha, Telangana will also be seeing the state assembly elections this year end. So definitely the battle for the state assembly elections has also been intensifying day by day. But now, just ahead of the inauguration of the new Secretariat building, which is all set to take place on the 17th of February, where we are going to see where we are going to see Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, Hemant Soren, and many other leaders are invited for the inauguration of this Secretariat building. But now, the BJP state president says that if BJP is voted to power, then they will demolish the domes on it. And however, the BRS, the ruling government here in the state of Telangana, has been hitting out at the BJP state president for making such controversial comments.
But Aneri, let's also understand that the BJP is extremely clear in its goal. This is not state specific or region specific. This is really about the BJP saying that India needs to be proud of its culture and not always bow down in front of the Mughal heritage or the British heritage that is left behind. And exactly reiterating on that very idea is what the BJP is also doing. But the BRS clearly in defiance also, because KCR recently inaugurated that secretariat, and this is now escalating the face-off between the two sides. Rabula Sridhar Reddy from the TRS is now patched with us on the phone line. Rabula Sridhar Reddy, please tell us, where does the BRS stand on this? And this statement coming in from the BJP, how do you react?
See, this is the most irresponsible statement from a BJP state president, and he is notorious to make such statements even in the past. If you recollect, in the past he was saying in a public meeting that they will dig masks. If you find the mortal remains, it is mask. Otherwise, it is not. And he has also threatened that if you play Bhagavad Gita in the vehicles that carry the dead bodies, they will attack those vehicles who play Bhagavad Gita in the last rites. And this is the kind of, behavior, irresponsible statements the BJP state president of Telangana makes, and BJP central team or the central leadership encourages him. And this shows that their mindset, their behavior, their bad culture, and they are encouraging such leadership. And they can stoop to any law for the power, for gaining mileage in the public. And I demand the BJP central leadership to take action on him for making such notorious statements that disturb the culture, disturb the harmony and peace in the state. This is completely irresponsible and shows the mindset of BJP rank and file.
All right, Ravula Sridhar Reddy talking to Republic this afternoon. Many thanks for speaking to us. And this is the response coming in. As remember, this is a newly built structure and that has been renovated. This is to be inaugurated on the 17th of February by Chief Minister KCR, and calling the BJP's remarks notorious. Remember, this was said by Bandi Sanjay, BJP state president in Telangana, where they say that the top leadership must take action. But the statement very much in line with the BJP's larger goal of taking the reins in our own hands and not always vowing for the Mughal or Brit heritage that is left behind. On that note, we move on and get you other top stories we're tracking for you this afternoon. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and M.M. Sundaresh hear Hindu Sena plea seeking ban on BBC and dismiss the plea. Top court says plea has no merit. Central government clears appointment of two High Court Chief Justices who were elevated to the Supreme Court, Justice Rajesh Bindal and Justice Arvind Kumar. Notably, the appointment brings the total strength of the Apex Court to its maximum of 34 judges. BSF shot down a drone attempting intrusion into Indian territory from the Pakistani side. Now, according to BSF officials, they've recovered 3 kgs of heroin, 1 China-made pistol, cartridges and a magazine from the drone. BSF further added that the drone was deployed along the international boundary with Pakistan Punjab's Firozpur sector. The deadlock persists between Pakistan and International Monetary Fund as the two sides have failed to reach the staff-level agreement to unlock $1.1 billion USD loan tranche after 10 days of tough talks. The development comes as negotiations which took place between IMF and Pakistan from the 31st of January to the 9th of February concluded in Islamabad. IMF's mission had arrived in Islamabad to hold talks with Pakistani authorities. Uttarakhand Berozgar Sangh has called for a statewide bandh today in protest against the lathi charge on students in Dehradun. 13 protesters, including Union President Bobby Panwar, were arrested on Thursday after unemployed youth who were demanding a CBI inquiry into recruitment irregularities pelted stones at the police force and damaged their vehicles. We're stepping into a very short commercial break. On the other side, we get you details as Adani has now taken the battle further. This is to America, where they've hired a legal powerhouse against Hindenburg. UK review warns of anti-India rhetoric, red flags pro-Khalistani and Pakistani elements.
Amity University is establishing a most advanced supercomputing facility for research and innovation in the field of artificial intelligence. Scientists and researchers passionate to make a difference in the field of artificial intelligence are invited to contact at ai@amity.edu.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को ख़राब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को ख़राब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई।
The death toll from the earthquakes that jolted Turkey and Syria has now risen to over 20,000. According to sources, the total number of injured people in Syria and Turkey has reached 75,592. The death toll in Turkey has risen to over 17,000. Thousands took to the streets in Peru's capital. The protesters demanded the resignation of the Peruvian president, Dina Boluarte. During the protests, some clashes were reported in which the Peruvian police fired tear gas to disperse demonstrators after trying to reach the Congress. President Dina took office in December after her predecessor, Pedro Castillo, was ousted for seeking to dissolve the legislature. Stepping into a short commercial break, on the other side getting you details is Rohit Sharma has scored a ton against Australia in Test match.
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को ख़राब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर।
And on to what's making headlines in the world of sports, leading from the front row, his century put Team India in control on day 2 of Border Gavaskar series first match. Indian skipper Rohit Sharma makes record first ever Indian captain to score a century in all 3 formats. After cribbing over pitch, Australian cricketers face Jadeja Ashwin's spin drop. R. Ashwin becomes second fastest bowler to take 450 test wickets, only behind Sri Lanka's off-spinner Muthaiya Muralitharan. Virat Kohli fails to end test century drought since 2019, falls victim to Australian spinner Todd Murphy. Cristiano Ronaldo scores 4 times for Al Nassr, goes past 500 goal mark in club career. Slipping into a short commercial break. On the other side, we'll get you those snippets as Prime Minister inaugurated UP Global Investor Summit.
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्या की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्ड, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्या की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड।
At least 4 people were killed in an explosion that hit a former factory at an industrial zone in Ukrainian capital on Thursday. The Kyiv emergency service said at least 5 other people were injured. About 10 people were believed to have been inside the building when the explosion happened. The 30-year-old husband of Alina Malyutina was working in a workshop at the site when the blast went off. She says she was unable to reach him by telephone and came to the industrial zone to find out what had happened.
Під завалами знаходяться люди з загоранням залишків будівельних конструкцій. На даний момент пожежу локалізовано, дим відсутній. Стався вибух всередині цієї одноповерхової будівлі.
Authorities were investigating the cause of the blast, with some unconfirmed reports suggesting a gas canister blew up. Agency report, Republic TV.
Time now for a short commercial break. We'll get you details on the other side as Prime Minister is to launch Mumbai to Solapur Vande Bharat Express.
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. Bittu Roy Chaudhary and Priyanka Sharma uncover the story of Russians in Raigada. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
$1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्या की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्ड, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे।
4 Russian tourists, 1 hotel in Raigada, and 2 mysterious deaths. Bittu Roy Chaudhary and Priyanka Sharma uncovered the story of Russians in Raigada. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend only on Republic.
Viewers, it's time for for Superfast 50. I'm Shivangi Shukla. Let's get started. Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the Uttar Pradesh Global Investors Summit today. The two-day event in Lucknow is a flagship investment summit of the government of Uttar Pradesh. The summit also aims to seek investment from both domestic and foreign investors.
आज भारत में सोशल, फिजिकल और डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर जो काम हुआ, उसका बड़ा लाभ यूपी को भी मिला है। इस कारण आज यहां समाज सोशली एंड फाइनेंशियली बहुत अधिक इंक्लूसिव हो चुका है, कनेक्टेड हो चुका है।
Well, addressing the UP Global Investor Summit, Prime Minister lauded the UP state and said it has more potential than most developed nations. He further added that UP is driving the growth of New India and has shown improvement in every field.
आज भारत में सोशल, फिजिकल और डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर जो काम हुआ, उसका बड़ा लाभ यूपी को भी मिला है। इस कारण आज यहां समाज सोशली एंड फाइनेंशियली बहुत अधिक इंक्लूसिव हो चुका है, कनेक्टेड हो चुका है।
PM Modi will flag off two new Vande Bharat trains from Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj terminus today. The new and upgraded version of Vande Bharat Express will be the 9th and the 10th Vande Bharat editions, which will run between Mumbai and Solapur and Mumbai and Sainagar Shirdi. The Indian Space Research Organization launched the small satellite launch vehicle SSLV-D2 from Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota today. A successful launch has put ISRO's Earth Observation Satellite and two co-passenger satellites into a 450-kilometer circular orbit around the Earth. The major embarrassment for Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot, although CM Gehlot did a lot of branding before the budget, but when the budget was being read in the House, the old budget was read following the alleged blunder made by the Congress leader. The BJP legislators have protested and the assembly proceedings have got disrupted.
सम्मान बनाए रखने के लिए अच्छा होगा इसको स्थगित करिए, दोबारा इनको फिर से अवसर दीजिए कि दोबारा आकर के फिर पढ़े जो कुछ भी पढ़ना चाहें। इनका बजट केवल और केवल इनकी अटैची में पैक रहता है, लॉक एंड की रहता है, किसी को भी इसकी जानकारी नहीं होती है। वो ये पढ़ रहे हैं, लाइनें सही पढ़ रहे हैं या गलत पढ़ रहे हैं, इसका उनको पता कैसे लगा? ये पता उनको कैसे लगा, ये जानना चाह रहा है राजस्थान। ये बजट लीक नहीं है तो और क्या है?
When the BJP protested against Rajasthan CM Ashok Gehlot for reading old budget, Gehlot in his defense said that the old budget page was added to his budget copy by mistake.
अब मैं अल्प आयु वर्ग के साथ साथ समस्त 1,18,00,000 घरों
The Madras High Court directed Tamil Nadu police to permit RSS to take the route marches in various districts across the state on public roads. Earlier, the court had allowed the rally, but with conditions. Court earlier said it could only be held indoors and in stadiums, but RSS said conditions were not acceptable and postponed the rally. Now, court has allowed a march. Ahead of the Karnataka Assembly polls, gift politics takes center stage in Karnataka. A woman refuses to take sugar packets offered by supporters of BJP leader there, Murugesh Nirani. Thousands of kilograms of sugar were being distributed to voters as a freebie in the constituency. Supreme Court relaxes the condition imposed by Kerala High Court. The Kannada movie Kantara should not exhibit Varaha Rupam song. The Supreme Court protects the producer and the actor director respectively and says that they will not be arrested when they show up for questioning on February 12th and 13th in connection with a copyright infringement probe over the song. Gautam Adani has hired one of the most expensive legal firms in the US in its fight against short seller Hindenburg Research, known to be one of the Wall Street's fiercest defense law firms. Now this firm has been hired as the Adani Group seeks to reassure its investors about the health of the company. Supreme Court bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and M.M. Sundaresh heard the Hindu Sena plea seeking ban on BBC and dismissed the plea. A top court says the plea has no merit. Central government clears the appointment of the two High Court Chief Justices who were elevated to the Supreme Court, Justice Rajesh Bindal and Justice Arvind Kumar. Notably, the appointment brings the total strength of the Apex Court to its maximum of 34 judges. Border Security Force shot down a drone attempting intrusion into the Indian territory from the Pakistan side. According to the BSF officials, they have recovered 3 kg heroin, 1 China-made pistol, cartridges and a magazine from the drone. BSF further added that the drone was deployed along the international boundary with Pakistan, Punjab's Firozpur sector. The deadlock persists between Pakistan and International Monetary Fund as the two sides have failed to reach the staff-level agreement to unlock the USD 1.1 billion loan tranche after 10 days of tough talks. Development comes as negotiations which took place between IMF and Pakistan from Jan 31st to Feb 9th concluded in Islamabad. The IMF's mission had arrived in Islamabad to hold talks with Pakistani authorities. Uttarakhand Berojgar Sangh has called for a statewide ban today in protest against the lathi charge of students in Dehradun. The 13 protesters, including Union President Bobby Panwar, were arrested on Thursday after unemployed youth who were demanding a CBI inquiry into the recruitment irregularities pelted stones at the police force and damaged their vehicles. Uttarakhand CM Pushkar Singh Dhami has directed the Chief Secretary for a detailed magisterial inquiry into the law and order situation and the entire sequence of lathi charge. After checking all the facts and circumstances, a detailed inquiry report will be available to the government.
मेरा सभी लोगों से निवेदन है कि कृपया शांति बनाए रखें, पुलिस के कार्रवाई पर विश्वास रखें। अगर मुकदमा पंजीकृत हुआ है उसको भी हम निष्पक्ष ढंग से कार्रवाई करेंगे और हम एक ही चीज को देख रहे हैं, हम किसी के अगेंस्ट कोई प्रेजुडिस होकर काम नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन किसी को शांति भंग करने का, किसी को भी कानून व्यवस्था को अपने हाथ में लेने का हक नहीं है।
The Geological Survey of India said it has found lithium deposits for the first time in the country. India lately has been looking to strengthen its supply of key minerals, including lithium, which will be critical for furthering its electric vehicle plans. The GSI further said in a statement that 5.9 million tons of lithium inferred resources have been established in the district of Northern Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Mohammed Fazil's brother allegedly assaulted in a road rage. A father alleges in a pre-planned murder attempt. Fazil was killed in July 2022 in a retaliation to the murder of BJP worker Praveen Netaru. Just last week, a VHP leader had declared that Hindu power was behind the murder. Congress leader Gaurav Gogai has now slammed Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sarma for campaign against child marriage in the state. This comes after a 16-year-old pregnant married girl died while she was on her way to hospital in Assam. Narrow escape for former Jammu and Kashmir Minister Lal Singh as his vehicle met with an accident. The accident happened while saving a cow on road. This happened at the Kathua-Samba border. Both former minister and the driver are safe as the airbags in the car had opened up after that accident. Demolition drive is underway in Mehrauli area by DDA. The administration says that this is a house which was built illegally. Heavy police force and CRPF have also been deployed. On the other hand, there is a presence of local people in large numbers. Pro-Khalistan groups once again staging protests at Chandigarh-Mohali border demanding release of convicts. On Wednesday, when the group was staging protests, violence was reported as some weapon-wielding protesters attacked the policemen. Civic infrastructure continues to fall apart in Bengaluru. Road caves in there near Shivananda Circle in the city. A huge crater was found in the middle of the road near Shivananda Circle. Locals cover potholes with barricades to prevent accidents. A protest by students in Dehradun demanding an inquiry by the CBI into the recruitment scam in Uttarakhand turned violent on Thursday. Section 144 has been imposed in Dehradun district in order to avoid any untoward incident. Uttarakhand CM Pushkar Singh Dhami ordered probe into the incident of lathi charge on the students protesting in Dehradun against the recent paper leaks during various exams. Supreme Court grants interim bail to suspended IAS Pooja Singhal accused in the Meganrega scam in Jharkhand. Singhal is getting an interim bail for a month for her daughter's treatment. Bail has been granted with conditions. Lok Sabha witnessed noisy scenes and a walkout by the DMK and the Congress after Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia said that the opposition is giving wrong information about AIIMS Madurai. A Supreme Court which held on February 7th had refused to entertain two pleas seeking to restrain Victoria Gauri from taking oath today, pronounced a reason for the dismissal of the petition. Supreme Court says we have followed the Constitution bench judgment and cannot go into the question of suitability. Traffic on Jammu-Srinagar National Highway has been suspended after stone had come down shooting down the hills. Now this happened in the Ramban area. This massive landslide has been caught on camera. Two girls were rescued alive after snow avalanche has struck the Gurez Valley of North Kashmir's Bandipora district. Soon after the incident, a rescue operation was conducted by the locals. A review into the UK government scheme set up to prevent terrorism has flagged the radicalization of UK Muslims over Kashmir and potentially toxic pro-Khalistan extremism as some of the areas of growing concern, and made recommendations for improvements to tackle Islamist extremism as a primary threat to the country. The death toll from the earthquakes that jolted Turkey and Syria has risen to over 20,000. According to sources, now the total number of injured people in Syria and Turkey has reached 75,592. The death toll in Turkey has risen to 17,000. The United States announced providing $85 million of humanitarian aid and assistance to those impacted by the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. The new aid announced by the U.S. to deliver aid to people in Turkey and Syria after two earthquakes jolted the two nations on Monday. The World Bank has announced providing $1.78 billion in assistance to Turkey to help with relief and recovery efforts after devastating earthquakes in Turkey and neighboring Syria, according to sources. A death toll following the earthquakes that hit Turkey and Syria on Monday has risen to 21,000, while at least 78,000 people in Syria and Turkey were injured after the quakes. A search and rescue operation and a team of up to 72 personnel has been deployed from Sydney to assist Turkish authorities. A team will take with them about 22 tons of equipment and critical supplies, including tents, bandages, bolt cutters, chainsaws, and drills will be self-sufficient. Meanwhile, Australian Defence Ministry, Australia in fact, will be contributing 10 million Australian dollars to the aid efforts. Russian missile strikes targeted the energy infrastructure in Ukraine's Zaporizhia today morning. The Russian forces have reportedly struck the city 17 times an hour, making it the most amount of time Moscow has launched attacks on Kyiv since the war started. According to the senior U.S. State Department official, the suspected Chinese spy balloon shot down by the U.S. military over the Atlantic Ocean was capable of conducting signals intelligence collection operations. The official further said that the Chinese balloon had flown over more than 40 countries across 5 continents. Response to the White House's statement on suspected spy balloons being a part of the PRC fleet of balloons developed to conduct a surveillance operation. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said that the U.S. overreacted by using force. The Chinese
So since the pandemic, when the economy dipped by -23, our efforts to recover the economy has been through the capex route, capital expenditure route from the government side. And this, because it has great multiplier effect, enables to have in situ jobs created where the projects of the public expenditure are being spent and the projects are being made to rise. So that immediately in situ creates a lot of jobs and therefore triggers better income and therefore triggers better consumption. This is a well-established route in terms of multiplier for capital expenditure, as different from the route which is asserted by economists when you give money in the hands of the people, where the multiplier is far lesser than a rupee spent, is far lesser than that rupee spent. The next very important line is also enhancing the productive capacities in the economy so that we can spur and sustain domestic demand. Third is also an approach which is comprehensive, looking at social security. I already explained the inflation management. So these four major routes and activities have actually kept the economy in a sustained growth path. So in a way, if I have to put in a few words what this budget of 2023-24 is, it actually, in a way, if I can say, astutely balances the requirement for India's development imperatives within the limits of fiscal prudence. So that is a very difficult balance. I'm sure most of us who are speaking on the Indian economy and the budget would observe that it is a very, very tight, measure. It's a very delicately balanced act, and that's what has been achieved in 2023-24 budget, without compromising on India's growth potential and sustaining the growth momentum. We also have made sure that fiscal prudence is maintained as per the glide path we had given 2 years ago. We were in a stretched fiscal situation, sir, post the pandemic. However, the growth in 23-24, the period for which this budget is presented here, will be with good policies such as the PM Gati Shakti, National Logistics Policy, and also the PLI scheme, and with cooperative federalism in mind, empowering states is of great concern for us. And as I go about speaking on specific points on which members of parliament have spoken, I'll also highlight what measures, even as of today, I have taken in order to maintain the state's fiscal health and also ensure that money is in their hands at the time when they need it. So actually from the budget itself, I wanted to place on record again through this response my reply. But even as I heard very many members speak about it, there was this repeated question about, are we giving enough for the states? Total resources are being transferred to states. I'd like to highlight and begin with that. Total resources being transferred to the states, that is the central share in taxes, releases under the centrally sponsored schemes, both put together, under the BE 23-24, which is the proposed budget which is on the table of this House for consideration, is estimated at 17.98 lakh crores. This is higher by 1.55 lakh crores over the last year, which is the current running year as of March 31st, 2023. So this is higher by 1.55 lakh crores over RE of 22-23. I'm not even comparing it with the BE. Even over the RE, what we proposed in the current budget, which is under the consideration of the Parliament, is far higher. It is higher by 1.55 lakh crores. And 2.9 lakh crores and it is 2.91 lakh crore more than the actual of 21-22, the year before. The capital expenditure for 23-24 is at 10 lakh crore, which most members have heard me say, whereas in the year 1920, this amount was only 3.39 lakh crores. And if I go to the last full budget presented during the UPA's 10 years, that is in 2013-14, it was only 2.91 lakh crores. 2.91 lakh crores in 13-14, the last of the UPA budgets. 2019-20 budget, which is the budget before the pandemic, it was 3.39 lakh crores. So the states will be the partners in this massive capital expenditure exercise. And in the budget of 23-24, that is the current budget, we have made an allocation of 1.3 lakh crores to the states as interest-free capital expenditure loan, which will run for 50 years. So 1.3 lakh crore is being given to states as 50-year loan without interest. So the state's interest has always been kept up and kept in our mind, and making sure that we are in time giving them what is their rightful amounts. So, whilst I go through the members and their points, I'm just broadly telling you the issues which this budget addresses and made specific allocations. Broadly, the headings are middle class, employment related, MSME related, agriculture related, rural population related, health related, and green growth related. So I will very quickly just give you the bullets under each of them so that all of us have a complete comprehensive picture on each of these headings. For middle class, sir, the new tax regime is very attractive. No tax for those with income less than 7 lakhs. Tax exemption limit will be 3 lakh under new regime against what was prevailing at 2.5 lakhs earlier. Standard deduction for salaried allowed in new regime as well. Will reduce tax liability. This proposal will reduce tax liability for majority of middle class taxpayers. New regime will be the standard or default. Taxpayers will have to opt for the old regime if she or he wants. Doubling of investment limit in small savings schemes from 15 to 30 lakh, and increase in limit of monthly income scheme benefiting senior citizens and others through high interest rate with full safety will also benefit the middle class. And finally, for middle class, new small savings scheme for women and girls with attractive interest rate of 7.5% for a 2-year tenure. So here, I can't see member N.K. Premchandran, who asked for a clarification regarding the new income tax regime. He said, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting his exact words, but he said that under the old tax regime, a common man can save up to 4.5 lakh on his income from 9 lakhs. On his income of 9 lakhs, he can save up to 4.5 lakhs. However, he said in the new regime that won't help at all. In reality, sir, it is very difficult, actually, strictly speaking, for a common man who earns 9 lakhs to avail 4.5 lakhs in deduction. And after all, since he has to run the family as well as think of constantly of how best he can reduce the taxes. So when he's earning 9 lakh annually, 4.5 lakh in deduction itself will be quite a large and effort-ridden exercise. Enhanced rebate, whereas what we want to explain here, since the enhanced rebate in the new scheme is unconditional, it will greatly benefit income earners in the lower tax brackets as they have higher disposable income in their hands for meeting their essential expenditure. So I wanted to just assure Member N.K. Premchandran that it's not always possible for a 9 lakh salaried person to have 4.5 lakh under exemption and then also be having enough money to spend for his family. So that was for middle class. So if I move for employment related information from this budget, sir. Increase in capital expenditure with large multiplier effect, and that's 10 lakh crores, and of which 1.30 will go to the states as well. Increased credit of 2 lakh crore at lower interest rate to MSMEs, who are the biggest job creators. Lab-grown diamonds have been given a fillip, which is a sunrise sector, and it has very high employment potential. Multidisciplinary courses for medical devices to create skilled manpower in futuristic medical technologies, manufacturing and research. That's also aimed at greater employability for our people. Job opportunities through Make AI in India and Make AI Work for India in educational institutions is clearly giving that cutting edge benefit for our students. Comprehensive tourism package for 50 destinations, creating direct and indirect jobs. PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana 4.0 to be launched, covering new age courses like coding, AI, robotics, mechatronics, IoT, 3D printing, drones, and soft skills are all aimed at giving that lead advantage for those who come out of colleges with these skills, who can then be employable straight away. 30 Skill Indian International Centers. 30 Skill India International Centers will be established to train youth for international job opportunities, inclusive of any optional language which they would want. So this is about employment, particularly from this budget. For MSMEs, sir, Vivad Se Vishwas. Vivad Se Vishwas scheme for refunding forfeited amounts of bid performance security, which is given during COVID period in all government and PSU contracts with MSMEs. One point which I've missed out on employment is how in the government, in this year, every month, Prime Minister, also the ministers have all gone all over the country to give employment letters in government jobs. About 10 lakh jobs are being offered in the government, and that cannot be missed out. Sir, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme for MSMEs, and also to encourage timely payment, deduction of expenses for tax purposes allowed only when payment actually made to MSMEs will greatly benefit MSMEs, because most often large companies retain them and really take the offset benefits for it without really paying the MSMEs. We want to encourage the payment of MSMEs because they are the ones who generate a lot of local jobs. Revamped credit guarantee scheme for micro and small enterprises with additional credit of 2 lakh crores and reduction of interest rate by approximately 1%. And also, the presumptive taxation limit has been enhanced both for MSMEs and for professionals. Sir, I have 3 more of these main subjects, so that from this budget we'll be able to club it all together to see for that head as to what we have given. For agriculture, agricultural credit target has been enhanced to 20 lakh crores. India will be developed as a global hub for Sri Ann, that is the millets. Agricultural Accelerator Fund for agri startups. Major increase in storage facilities through cooperatives. Computerization of the PACS PAC. Tax relief to cooperative sugar mills and PACs. That is more than about 9,000 crores, which is going for the benefit of the sugarcane farmers. Decentralized storage facilities through cooperatives to enable farmers to store their produce and sell it at the right time when they will get better prices. And also a new sub-scheme for fishermen, fish vendors under the PM Matsya Sampada Yojana. All this is definitely going to make India's agriculture far more robust. Rural population, sir, huge increase in the outlay for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, 66% increase, and 79,000 crores are being given for PM Awas Yojana. Increase in the outlay for Jal Jeevan Mission from 60,000 crores to 70,000 crores. 15,000 crore mission for particularly vulnerable tribal groups. We talk about inclusion, but when we talk about what is being provided to the tribes, nobody wants to hear that, and they will still question.
Sir, I have a request. Today being the Friday, that's the private member business. Since this is financial business is going on, it may be kindly taken up on Monday.
सदन की सहमति है? माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी।
Today. For health, the last two on which I want to elaborate. 157 new nursing colleges are being created. This also creates jobs both for domestic and international workers. Then sickle cell anemia elimination mission, which is very important for some tribal areas. And new program for research and innovation in pharmaceuticals are the highlights I would like to say for the health area. And finally, sir, the green growth, 35,000 crore towards capital investments in energy security, energy transition, which is being given to the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Energy storage projects are being taken up. Funds for scrapping polluting vehicles for both center and states are being given. Amrit Dharohar for conservation of wetlands are being taken up. Exemption of excise duty for blended compressed natural gas. Customs duty exemption for capital goods needed for lithium-ion cells for batteries in electrical vehicles, and green hydrogen mission. So in a gist, I tried capturing all those topics under which the budget had a lot of provisions here and there, but I've put it all together to summarize here, sir. Now I go to those 15 particular groups of issues on which honorable members have spoken. I'll group it all together on behalf of the members and try to address them. The fiscal glide path is the first issue, maintained at the cost of reduced food and fertilizer subsidy. That was a member's apprehension which was put here, saying allocation for food and fertilizer subsidy has been drastically reduced. Was a, if I can call it as an allegation was levied. I want to say here, sir, leveled. 2015-16 till 2019-20, food subsidies have been in the range of 1 lakh crore to 1.12 lakh crores. I'm talking about 2015-16 to 2020. Whereas now in this budget, for 23-24, the projection for food subsidy is 1.97 lakh crores. So it is far higher, in fact double than what was being given in 1920 or even earlier. The provision for food subsidy available in the budget of 23-24, sir, is adequate, we think, to cover all the anticipated expenditure for the PDS operations, and therefore that's not even less. The increase in food subsidy in the last 2 financial years is due to the PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana to 80 crore people. So the central government now, under the new PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, which has been introduced since December 2022, in the last 2 financial years, I've already said, in the December allocation of PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, which will continue to the Antyodaya and the priority households, the central government will bear all costs of the PDS operation with no cost to the beneficiary or even to the state governments. The entire cost will be on the central government. So, there is just no reduction in the food subsidy, and therefore on that behalf to allege that I'm maintaining fiscal consolidation at the cost of reducing food subsidy is completely wrong.
मैडम को याद दिलाते हैं, मैडम को याद दिलाते हैं। 5 ही कम हो गए। देखो मैं आपको एक सुनो पहले 5 ही तो मिलता था यार। अरे सुनो अधीर बाबू you are a very senior member, continuously disturbing, it is not to your stature, I am telling you, it is not fair on your part. अरे बैठिए यार ऐसे आपके बीच
Sir, today Adhir ji is very conscious. Adhir ji is very conscious.
I have always my respect. I have a great respect.
Thank you. Surely, with that respect in place, even from my side, Adhir ji is very conscious. 5 kgs कम हो गया है. इनके NFSA 2013-14 में कितने राज्य में NFSA implement किया गया था? कोई 7 states only agreed to go along with them, and even in that it was only 5 kgs. Suddenly क्योंकि मोदी जी ने गरीब के लिए कोविड के समय +5 kg. अरे I also have respect for you Adhir जी, सुनिए ना, क्षमता रखना चाहिए सुनने में. NFSA 2013-14 sir, only 7 states took, and what did it give? It gave 5 kgs. गरीब के लिए क्योंकि कोविड के समय किसी गरीब भूखे ना रहे, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी एडिशनल 5 kg दिया. वो एडिशनल 5 kg को अभी याद दिला रहे हैं. आप तो पहले से नहीं दिए, 5 kg बोले, 7 स्टेट्स में किए, बाकी देश भर में नहीं किए. आज आ गए इतना गरीब के लिए, क्या बात है जी. सर, another point was वो गरीब के लिए फूड को कटवा दिया, इसीलिए आपको फिस्कल कंसोलिडेशन हुआ. I proved it. No. Now I'll come to the fertilizer subsidy, sir. 2015-16 मैं उनके 13-14-12 में नहीं जा रही हूं अभी. 2015-16 to 2019-20 में fertilizer subsidy has been in the range of 65,000 crore to about 80,000 crore. Then in 22-23, that is this year, provision for fertilizer subsidy was about 1.05 lakh crores. In this budget, which is under consideration here in this parliament for 23-24, this has been raised to 2.25 lakh crores. Sorry, 22-23 के लिए this साल has been raised to 2.25 lakh crores. Why was this raised for the current year so much? Because international prices went up. We had to import at a very high cost. On this, there is some data which I'd like to share with you, sir. Ek bori, which is 45 kgs, I think, of fertilizer, was somewhere in the range of 220 rupees. Whereas we had to import it somewhere in the range of 2,800. The very same 45 kg bori was 2,900 something. Approximately, the import cost had gone up. We imported it all at that cost, but did not put the burden on the farmer. किसान के ऊपर 1 पैसा ज्यादा तब भी नहीं लिया, अभी भी नहीं लिया. ये टोटल केंद्र सरकार के ऊपर है. Okay? Sir, एक मिनट सर, क्योंकि हमारे वेरी एक्टिव मेंबर ऑनरेबल गोगोई इस विषय में उठे, मैं जो विषय बाद में बोलना चाहती थी मैं अभी ही बोल रही हूं। एक्साइज ड्यूटी जब ज्यादा हुआ, फॉरेन प्राइस जब, इंपोर्ट प्राइस जब ज्यादा हुआ, प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी 2 बार एक्साइज ड्यूटी को कम करके जनता के ऊपर बोझ ना हो ऐसे स्टेप लिया नवंबर में और जून में, नवंबर 21, जून 22 में। 1 मिनट सर उस विषय में बोलना चाहती हूं। तब से लेकर आज तक हम तो जनता के ऊपर बर्डन कम हो इसीलिए एक्साइज ड्यूटी को कम कर रहे हैं। इसके उल्टा करने वाले स्टेट्स का नाम लेना चाहती हूं सर। सॉरी, मेरा हिंदी सही आ रही है कि नहीं? हम तो प्राइस कटवाने के लिए कोशिश करके नवंबर में 2021 और जून 22 में कटौती की। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी बोले कि एक्साइज ड्यूटी को कम करो, किए, मगर तब से लेकर आज तक मैं नाम लेना चाह रही हूं। एक पहले किया होगा, आज दूसरे क्या कर रहे हैं, जो भी हो, उल्टा जनता के ऊपर बोझ पड़ना परवाह नहीं पड़ेगा, करने दो। ऐसे करने वाले लोग का नाम बोल रही हूं सर। एक्टिव हमारे, ठीक है अदीप जी पूरे 2 दिन आप सबका सुना। प्लीज
धैर्यपूर्वक सुनिए
सर। हमारे एक्टिव मेंबर गोगोई जी, वो उनके हिमाचल के सरकार से पूछना चाहिए, चुनाव जीतकर आने के तुरंत बाद VAT वैल्यू एडेड टैक्स ऑन डीजल 3 रुपए ज्यादा किया, ये उनका है। ठीक है सर। और
हिमाचल प्रदेश कर रही है।
वैट इंक्रीज करने वाले आप हो भाई, वैट इंक्रीज करने वाले आप हो। आप बिना सोचे समझे बात ना करो। आपने वैट इंक्रीज किया डीजल के ऊपर, वो भी
हिमाचल प्रदेश के।
On that note, we have to slip into a very short commercial break. On the other side, we are also tracking these latest pictures coming in from Mumbai, where Prime Minister is all set to flag off the Mumbai to Solapur Vande Bharat Express.
Amity University is establishing a most advanced supercomputing facility for research and innovation in the field of artificial intelligence. Scientists and researchers passionate to make a difference in the field of artificial intelligence are invited to contact at ai@amity.edu.
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे, और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार
And cutting across to breaking news coming in, the hearing is underway on Hindenburg in the top court. The hearing is on the shut sale. That is Hindenburg in the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court is asking as to how we protect investors and how do we ensure big losses don't happen. Rhythm Anand Bharadwaj, our legal editor, with us on the broadcast. Rhythm, details from you on what's happening in the top court on the Hindenburg matter.
So the Supreme Court is as of now hearing a plea that is seeking a declaration that short selling is the offence of fraud and directions to investigate the founder of Hindenburg should be there for exploiting innocent investors. That is what the top court bench is hearing. This is a bench of Justice Chandrachud, Justice Narasimha and Justice Pardiwala who are hearing this. The petition began around 15 minutes ago when the court said that we want to point out to certain allegations. The Supreme Court asked the Solicitor General, who are you representing? He said, I'm representing SEBI. And then the bench began to discuss the matter, after which there are certain things that the bench has now come out and said. They said that they have brought an issue before the court, and the concern for Supreme Court is how do we ensure the protection of Indian investors? They said very clearly they're not going to do a witch hunt. They're asking, suppose as a result of the short sale, the value of the shares gets depressed depending upon the number of shares in the market, then we want to know how, if this is happening on a small scale, then it's no issue. But if it's happening to lots of investors, then that's an issue. The court is also asking questions as to how they can ensure in future there is a robust mechanism that's in place, because today they say the capital is moving seamlessly. Today we have funds. You can move in and out of India. How do we ensure the investor is protected? So the big breaking news coming in from the Adani Hindenburg hearing in the top court is the court says we have to protect investors and say it's led to a loss of 10 lakh crores. How do we ensure it doesn't happen in the future? They're also asking SEBI what role it can play, because these days everybody's in the market. A very well thought of words coming in from the Supreme Court when it's trying to see beyond a certain point. They say we can't enter into policy domain. Can we contemplate of having a committee? So a lot of things that they're asking and stating, and the Supreme Court is trying to say they should not happen in the future. The hearing is continuing, but I must say once again we are seeing the top court extremely concerned about people, extremely concerned about how Indian investors will be working here, and also seeing whether they can work out a mechanism. At the same time, the hearing and the way it's going is very clear that the Supreme Court is not inclined to interfere in the domain of the executive, because they said we don't want to come into the way of the policy decisions that are being made by the government.
Right, Rhythm, stay on with us. Niranjan is also joining us from the Mumbai newsroom. Niranjan, pertinent questions being asked by the top court, because beyond the Adani Hindenburg fight, this is really about the larger interest of investors, and that is exactly what the top court is focusing on.
Well, that's correct. You know what's also happening is in the last 2 weeks, and you've been seeing the movement in the stock market, Suesha. Most Adani stocks today were trading in the red. In fact, we'll also pull up that stock tracker on the screen that will give you an idea of how the stocks are moving as far as the Adani Group stocks are concerned. But overall, the market not really impacted, because the Adani stocks are sort of decoupled from the market. So that apart, coming to the point, as Rhythm was saying, the court batting for the interest of the Indian investor, saying that if it is true that nearly 10 lakh crore has been wiped off as a fallout of such a report, what are the steps that can be taken is one of the questions that the court has asked. In fact, Rhythm, are you there? Rhythm? Okay, so let me just go through some of the observations of the court, just to tell our viewers what's happening inside. Suesha, as we speak, the court is hearing, and the court has given a few instructions. In fact, to Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who is, by the way, representing SEBI in this case, and the court has said that how do we ensure in the future we have a robust mechanism in place to ensure that we don't have a situation where a Hindenburg research report comes in and that a huge investor wealth is wiped off the markets because of the impact of that particular report. The court is also saying how do we, ensure that there is a robust mechanism in place. Two, saying that, today funds are moving in seamlessly, capital coming in and out of India. How do we ensure that the investor is protected? The bench also making a note, the Supreme Court making a note of how it's led to a loss of 10 lakh crore and how do we ensure as a nation that it doesn't happen again. And the court has asked what SEBI can do in this particular case and asked Tushar Mehta, who's representing SEBI in the Supreme Court, the Solicitor General, who has also said, by the way, that the trigger point in the report is the report. He in fact says, SEBI says trigger point is the report which is beyond our territorial jurisdiction, which is a very significant statement that is made by the Solicitor General, who's batting for SEBI, adding that there are regulations for some of the issues that the courts have discussed in the course of this hearing. And the court has also said very significantly, Suesha, that what we can have is some committee, that some thought process to get some input in terms of the government and what the government can do to take a call. And they eventually, as of now, the court is saying the government can take a call on something like this, whether some modification is required on the statute. Not just that, the court is also saying that beyond a certain stage, we won't enter the policy domain because it really comes down to policy, but there should be a mechanism that it doesn't happen in the future. This is a call that the government has to take. So the Supreme Court saying that such a situation cannot arise where huge investor wealth is wiped off, and this is money of normal people, retail investors, small investors who put their hard-earned money in the markets hoping that they make gains out of it. But when a Hindenburg comes in and when there's a crash like the one we've seen in some of the Adani Group stocks, the court is worried about what really is happening. Not just that. All right, getting in some breaking news now. We're cutting across to visuals from Mumbai right now. And in Mumbai, the Vande Bharat trains are being flagged off. The PM is flagging off the Vande Bharat Express. Live pictures coming in from the financial capital. This is live CST station in Mumbai. And we'll just go across to Alisha, my colleague. That's the Vande Bharat train, an express train, capable of going up to speeds of 160 to 180. The crowd there at CST, easily one of the most used train stations, not just in Mumbai but in the country. One of the most crowded stations, one of the oldest train stations in India, where most of the passengers use this route. Getting in more details, and that's Eknath Shinde, the Maharashtra Chief Minister, with the Prime Minister, flagging off the two Vande Bharat Express trains. Live pictures coming in. Let's see if there is an audio layer, and we'll go across to Alisha, my colleague, who's also live from there, tracking the latest developments. And these are live pictures coming on.
आप कृपया विराजमान हो जाएं। और अब CSMT सोलापुर वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस के बारे में संक्षेप में जानकारी देते हुए एक फिल्म चलाई जाएगी। मैं आपका ध्यान स्क्रीन की तरफ आकर्षित करना चाहती हूं।
भारत, संस्कृति और विरासत की भूमि। संस्कृति और विरासत जो सदियों से भारत को एक सूत्र में बांधती आई है। और इस सूत्र के साथ एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत के भाव को लगातार प्रगाढ़ बना रही है सबकी रेल, भारतीय रेल। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के यशस्वी नेतृत्व में आत्मनिर्भर और विकसित भारत के संकल्प को सशक्त करते हुए भारतीय रेल लगातार हो रही है आधुनिक, तेज, सुरक्षित और समावेशी। और इसकी एक शानदार मिसाल है मेड इन इंडिया वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस।
ये वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस उस भारत का प्रतीक है जो अपने हर नागरिक को बेहतर सुविधाएं देना चाहता है। ये वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस उस भारत का प्रतीक है जो गुलामी की मानसिकता से बाहर निकलकर आत्मनिर्भरता की तरफ बढ़ रहा है।
170 वर्ष पहले भारतीय उपमहाद्वीप की पहली रेल की साक्षी बनी यूनेस्को वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज में शामिल हमारी ऐतिहासिक धरोहर छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज टर्मिनस यानी CSMT। हाल ही में प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने ऐतिहासिक विरासत को बनाए रखते हुए विश्व स्तरीय सुविधाओं से सुसज्जित करने के लिए CSMT की विकास परियोजना का शिलान्यास किया। इसी कड़ी में आज CSMT स्वदेशी और अत्याधुनिक वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस के शुभारंभ की भी साक्षी बन रही है, जो विरासत के साथ विकास के संकल्प को और मजबूत करता है। इतना ही नहीं, प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी दे रहे हैं महाराष्ट्र को एक साथ 2 वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस ट्रेन की सौगात, जो भारत की 9वीं एवं 10वीं वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस होंगी। मुंबई और सोलापुर के मध्य शुरू हो रही वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस हमारी विरासत।
Amity University is establishing a most advanced supercomputing facility for research and innovation in the field of artificial intelligence. Scientists and researchers passionate to make a difference in the field of artificial intelligence are invited to contact at ai@amity.edu.
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस कब शुरू हुआ सर? हथियार भेजना, ट्रेनिंग करवानी, ये कब शुरू हुआ मामला?
ये पाकिस्तान का जब पंजाब में लॉयलेसनेस हो गई शुरू, ये जनरल जिया जो है वो बड़ा वाइली आदमी पंजाबी था, जलंधर का बॉर्न, तो 1979 से 1989 तक रहा। पंजाब में ये बदअमनी ना होती, ये खालिस्तान वाला इशू ना खड़ा होता, तो पाकिस्तान कभी भी कश्मीर की सिचुएशन को खराब नहीं कर सकता था।
Mysterious deaths in the heart of Orissa. The inside story. Russians in Raigada, Republic originals this weekend.
1984 में होता है ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। ये क्यों करा गोल्डन टेम्पल का ऑपरेशन, और क्या ये दूसरी तरीके से करा जा सकता था?
3 मीटिंग हुई, 25 मई, 27 और 29 मई। मिसेस गांधी के साथ 2 मीटिंग। जनरल वद्दा की जो 25 और 27 की मीटिंग थी, उसने कहा था हम गोल्डन टेम्पल को चारों तरफ सराउंड कर लेंगे, पानी काट देंगे, बिजली काट देंगे और भूखे मरेंगे तो अपने आप सरेंडर कर लेंगे। और ब्लू स्टार में भी SFF कमांडो जनरल सुंदर जी ने मंगवाई थी।
पाकिस्तान का इंटरफेरेंस
Adani takes the battle to America. He eyes the legal powerhouse against Hindenburg. UK review report warns of Islamist and pro-Khalistani extremism, inflaming anti-India sentiment. The UP Global Investors Summit kicks off. Prime Minister inaugurates this key summit. Major faux pas by Ashok Gehlot. He reads out the last year's budget defense, saying only one page got misplaced. In a mega boost to the state of Maharashtra, the Prime Minister is launching the Solapur Vande Bharat Express. And Rohit Sharma's stunt keeps India in driver's seat, becomes the only Indian skipper with a century in all three formats. A very good evening and thank you for staying with us on Republic. I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. Over the next few minutes, we are putting our focus on the biggest story. It is not just about what's happening vis-a-vis the Adani crisis, the Adani controversy. How really are the markets responding? We'll get you an insight into that. Also, remember the entire matter right now being heard by the Supreme Court. And this is our first breaking update that we begin this edition of the news with. Even as we speak, remember the Supreme Court is dictating the order in the entire case. When you had a group of petitions that was moved essentially in the court saying, what about the investors? What about their own sentiment? And the Supreme Court hearing on the Adani Hindenburg report. We are learning that the Supreme Court is dictating the order right now. Rhythm has more details. Rhythm, over to you. What more do we know of what the court has said so far and what is expected? Rhythm.
So let's tell our viewers, as we are speaking, the order is being dictated in the top court, DC in this case. And during this, the bench is very conscious about everything that's being said in the case and is going to be reported. The bench begins by passing out an order, which has started, where they say that during the course of this hearing, these petitions have been invoked under Article 32. They then say, we have indicated to the solicitor the concern with regards to ensuring there should be a regulatory mechanism within the country and it should be strengthened to ensure investors are protected. They then say they have to be protected against certain volatility that has come in the recent few weeks. They say that in turn would need due assessment because for the disruption of the stability of the securities markets. They've also said the existing regulatory framework, relevant factors need to be put into robust practices to protect the investors. The committees can be constituted, etc. These are just words for the court is right now, dictating when they are writing down the order. But the larger picture we've got as we are hearing the observations from the Supreme Court is the main concern that they have is that that they want to protect the investors. And they said they want a framework and they want, they are conscious that it may affect that it shouldn't be affecting the stock market. So even as the hearing is important, let's tell our viewers that the thing that's been most importantly told in the Supreme Court right now is they want to protect the investors. They've said that this issue is being brought forward deeply to ensure protection of Indian investors. They've also said we are concerned about the Indian investor. They told the Solicitor General there should be an open dialogue in this and they want to see what has to be ensuring that for the future there is a robust mechanism that can work seamlessly. As we are speaking, like I said, the bench dictating the order has for now stated that we need to see whether a committee needs to be constituted and whether the existing regulatory framework is enough or there needs to be more done. Most important point that the Supreme Court today has made is they need to protect the investors.
So
So, you know, Rhythm, I'm also hearing that possibly the Supreme Court be looking at creating a panel essentially to be able to study, you know, how we can deal with crisis like this even in the future. Because like I said, this is all about investors. You know, this is not about just a particular business conglomerate. This is about the impact, you know, Rhythm, that a move like this possibly could also have on investors. So could that also be in the offing? Could we see the Supreme Court, you know, really wanting to put out a panel to be able to look into issues like this in the future?
Good point, but I'm very cautious when it comes to the Supreme Court of even attributing that they want a panel right now. The only reason for this being the Supreme Court itself is saying we are very conscious and cautious when we are passing and stating anything, you know, in this particular case, till it's actually something that the government chooses to do. The reason for that is simple. In executive functions, the judiciary would not want to come into there, and that's something that the court started off by saying we don't want to go into the domain of the center. Even as these hearings are continuing, the bench started off, in fact, by discussing what was happening. This particular case is for the Hindenburg report, and the Solicitor General earlier said it would be premature to answer what and how the trigger point of this was achieved. That is when the court started getting these things, and they said the SG has a
रेल्वेच्या क्षेत्रात मोठी क्रांती होते. देशाला आज 9वी आणि 10वी वंदे भारत ट्रेन समर्पित करताना मला अत्यंत आनंद होतो आहे. महाराष्ट्र के मुख्यमंत्री श्रीमान एकनाथ जी, उप मुख्यमंत्री देवेंद्र जी, मंत्रिमंडल के मेरे साथीगण, महाराष्ट्र के मंत्रीगण, सभी सांसदगण, विधायकगण, अन्य सभी महानुभाव, भाइयों और बहनों, आज का दिन भारतीय रेल के लिए, विशेष रूप से मुंबई और महाराष्ट्र की आधुनिक कनेक्टिविटी के लिए बहुत बड़ा है. आज पहली बार एक साथ 2 वंदे भारत ट्रेनें शुरू हुई है. ये वंदे भारत ट्रेनें मुंबई और पुणे जैसे देश के आर्थिक सेंटर्स को हमारे आस्था के बड़े केंद्रों से जोड़ेंगी. इससे कॉलेज आने जाने वाले, ऑफिस और बिजनेस के लिए आने जाने वाले, किसानों और श्रद्धालुओं सभी को सुविधा होगी. ये महाराष्ट्र में पर्यटन और तीर्थ यात्रा को बहुत अधिक बढ़ावा देने वाली है. शिरडी में साईं बाबा का दर्शन करना हो, नासिक स्थित रामकुंड जाना हो, त्र्यंबकेश्वर और पंचवटी क्षेत्र का दर्शन करना हो, नई वंदे भारत ट्रेन, ये सब बहुत आसान होने वाला है. इसी प्रकार मुंबई सोलापुर वंदे भारत ट्रेन से पंढरपुर के विठ्ठल रखुमाई, सोलापुर के सिद्धेश्वर मंदिर, अक्कलकोट के स्वामी समर्थ या फिर आई तुलजा भवानी के दर्शन अब सबके लिए और सुलभ हो जाएंगे. और मुझे पता है कि जब वंदे भारत ट्रेन सह्याद्री घाट से गुजरे थी तो लोगों को प्राकृतिक सुंदरता का कितना दिव्य अनुभव होने वाला है. मैं मुंबई और महाराष्ट्र के लोगों को इन नई वंदे भारत ट्रेनों के लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं. साथियों, वंदे भारत ट्रेन आज के आधुनिक होते हुए भारत की बहुत ही शानदार तस्वीर है. ये भारत की स्पीड, भारत के स्केल दोनों का प्रतिबिंब है। आप देख रहे हैं कि कितनी तेजी से देश वंदे भारत ट्रेन लॉन्च कर रहा है। अभी तक 10 ऐसी ट्रेनें देश भर में चलनी शुरू हो चुकी है। आज देश के 17 राज्यों के 108 जिले वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस से कनेक्ट हो चुके हैं। मुझे याद है एक जमाना था जब सांसद चिट्ठी लिखा करते थे कि हमारे क्षेत्र में स्टेशन पर ट्रेन को रुकने का कोई प्रबंध कीजिए, 1-2 मिनट का स्टॉपेज दे दीजिए। अब देश भर के सांसद जब भी मिलते हैं तो यही दबाव डालते, यही मांग करते हैं कि हमारे यहां भी वंदे भारत ट्रेन चला दीजिए। एक क्रेज है आज वंदे भारत ट्रेनों का। साथियों, मुझे खुशी है कि आज मुंबई के लोगों का जीवन आसान बनाने वाले प्रोजेक्ट भी यहां शुरू हुए हैं। आज जिस एलिवेटेड कॉरिडोर का लोकार्पण हुआ है वो मुंबई में ईस्ट वेस्ट कनेक्टिविटी की जरूरत को पूरा करेगा। मुंबई के लोगों को बहुत दिन से इसका इंतजार था। इस कॉरिडोर से हर रोज 2 लाख से ज्यादा गाड़ियां गुजर पाएगी और लोगों का समय भी बचेगा। अब ईस्टर्न और वेस्टर्न सबर्बन इलाकों की कनेक्टिविटी इसके कारण बेहतर हो गई है। कुरार अंडरपास भी अपने आप में बहुत अहम है। मैं मुंबईकरों को इन परियोजनाओं के पूरा होने पर विशेष बधाई दूंगा। साथियों, 21वीं सदी के भारत को बहुत तेजी से अपने पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम को सुधारना ही होगा। जितनी तेजी से हमारा पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम आधुनिक बनेगा, उतना ही देश के नागरिकों की ईज ऑफ लिविंग बढ़ेगी, उनकी क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ में सुखद सुधार होगा। इसी सोच के साथ आज देश में आधुनिक ट्रेनें चलाई जा रही हैं, मेट्रो का विस्तार हो रहा है, नए नए एयरपोर्ट्स और पोर्ट्स बनाए जा रहे हैं। कुछ दिन पहले जो देश का बजट आया उसमें भी इसी भावना को सशक्त किया गया है और हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जी और उप मुख्यमंत्री जी ने उसकी भरपूर तारीफ भी की। भारत के इतिहास में पहली बार 10 लाख करोड़ रुपए सिर्फ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के विकास के लिए रखे गए हैं। ये 9 साल की तुलना में 5 गुना ज्यादा है। इसमें भी रेलवे का हिस्सा लगभग 2.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए का है। महाराष्ट्र के लिए भी रेल बजट में ऐतिहासिक वृद्धि हुई है। मुझे विश्वास है कि डबल इंजन सरकार के डबल प्रयासों से महाराष्ट्र में कनेक्टिविटी और तेजी से आधुनिक बनेगी। साथियों, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर निवेश किया गया हर रुपया नए रोजगार की संभावनाएं बनाता है। इसमें जो सीमेंट लगता है, बालू लगता है, लोहा लगता है, निर्माण में मशीनें लगती हैं, इनसे जुड़ी हर इंडस्ट्री को बल मिलता है। इससे बिजनेस करने वाले मिडिल क्लास को भी लाभ होता है, गरीब को रोजगार मिलता है। इससे इंजीनियरों को रोजगार मिलता है, श्रमिकों को रोजगार मिलता है। यानी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जब बनता है तब भी सबकी कमाई होती है और जब तैयार होता है तो वो नए उद्योगों, नए बिजनेस के रास्ते खोलता है। भाइयों और बहनों, इस बार के बजट में मध्यम वर्ग को कैसे मजबूती दी गई है, इस बारे में मैं मुंबई के लोगों को विशेष तौर पर बताना चाहता हूं। चाहे सैलरीड क्लास हो या व्यापार कारोबार से कमाने वाला मध्यम वर्ग, दोनों को इस बजट ने खुश किया है। आप देखिए 2014 से पहले तक क्या हाल था। जो भी व्यक्ति साल में 2 लाख रुपए ज्यादा कमाता था उस पर टैक्स लग जाता था। भाजपा सरकार ने पहले 5 लाख रुपए तक की कमाई पर टैक्स में छूट दी और इस बजट में इसे 7 लाख रुपए तक पहुंचा दिया। आज जिस कमाई पर मिडिल क्लास परिवार का टैक्स 0 है, उस पर यूपीए सरकार 20% टैक्स लेती थी। अब ये युवा साथी जिनकी नई नई नौकरी लगी है, जिनकी मासिक आय 60-65 हजार रुपए तक की है, वे अब ज्यादा निवेश कर पाएंगे। गरीब और मध्यम वर्ग के हित में काम करने वाली सरकार ऐसे ही निर्णय लेती है। साथियों, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि सबका विकास से सबका प्रयास की भावना को सशक्त करने वाला ये बजट हर परिवार को ताकत देगा, हम सभी को विकसित भारत के निर्माण के लिए अधिक प्रोत्साहित करेगा। फिर एक बार मुंबई सहित पूरे महाराष्ट्र को बजट और नई ट्रेनों के लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। आप सबका धन्यवाद।
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय जी, आपका संबोधन सौगात के रूप में बरकरार रहेगा। मैं दिल की गहराइयों से आपके प्रति आभार ज्ञापित करती हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
So we just heard the Prime Minister there speaking in Mumbai as he's flagged off 2 new Vande Bharat trains, where he's not just speaking about the big development push and how the Maharashtra growth, he says, is back on track, but he also took some bit of time to talk of the budget, and he said that this is a budget for everyone, whether that's the poor, the aspirational class or the middle class. And he's also, remember, taken a dig at the opposition there continuously that wants to be a roadblock in this journey that the Prime Minister says is only and only for development. And now from that story, let's shift our focus to the other story that Republic has tracked very, very closely. This is a big announcement that has come in from the state of Assam. This is an announcement and this is a big crackdown against child marriage in the state that is led by Himanta Biswa Sarma. Now, he says that he will go all out to ensure that there are no more child marriages in his state. But the Congress has a problem with this. The Congress is reading ulterior motives into that big announcement that has been made by the Assam Chief Minister. On the other side now, the NCPCR, that remember again is a nodal body when it comes to child rights in the country, has also said that a move like this is not just welcome, but a move like this should be followed by other states as well.
कानून भारत में बाल विवाह को रोकने के लिए 1929 से लागू है। लगभग 100 साल बीतने के बाद पहली बार कानून की परिभाषा में एक ठीक कार्रवाई हो रही है तो ये ज़रूरी थी बच्चों के हित में, और आयोग ने देश की सभी राज्य सरकारों से ये कहा भी कि भाई आप लोग भी इसको रेप्लिकेट करिए। ये एक अच्छा काम है जो बच्चों के भविष्य को संरक्षित करने की दिशा में ले जाएगा, उनको यौन शोषण से बचाएगा। अकेला चाइल्ड मैरिज एक्ट नहीं है जिसका वायलेशन होता है। भारत में बहुत ही प्रभावी कानून है बच्चों को यौन शोषण से बचाने के लिए, पॉक्सो एक्ट। पॉक्सो एक्ट कहता है कि 18 साल से कम उम्र के बच्चों का यौन शोषण अपराध है। विवाह की परिणति बच्चों के मामले में उनका यौन शोषण ही होता है। हम बच्चों के यौन शोषण के लिए किसी भी तरीके का लाइसेंस नहीं दे सकते। तो असम सरकार ठीक कार्रवाई कर रही है और राज्यों को इसको अनुकरण करना चाहिए।
आप कितने साल से सर इस पे मतलब आपने संज्ञान लिया हुआ था कि असम में बाल विवाह चल रहा था, और आपने असम सरकार से कब बात की कि इस पे एक सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए?